Chapter 8:15. Hee hee. Jiayang smiled and ignored Lin Rei's praise. He didn't know anything about the auction and he didn't want to do anything because he didn't have anything he wanted to buy. Alright. You can watch. There are some things that you can do as you see fit. I won't interfere. Seeing Jiayang acting like this, Lin Rei nodded his head and stopped looking at him. He got up and walked to the bed at the side and lay down. As for the auction items, since he had given Jiayang full authority, he could relax. Seeing Lin Rei leave with such ease, Jiayang panicked. He didn't know what to buy and couldn't make up his mind at the moment. Don't worry. All of the things that we obtain from the auction this time will be given to the sect. You can buy whatever you want. As for divine crystals, we don't lack them. Knowing what Jiayang was worried about, Linli immediately spoke out. Oh, okay. Since Jiayang had said this much, he didn't say anything else. Since he knew the general situation, he knew how to deal with it. He didn't look at Lin Rei anymore and turned his gaze back to the auction stage. At this moment, Jiayang seemed to have made some kind of decision. His eyes were filled with determination. On the bed, looking at Jiayang's back, a smile appeared on Jiayang's face. His eyes were filled with relief. Then, he closed his eyes and entered the system. Within the picturesque system space, Lin Rei slowly walked to the surface of the lake and sat down. Why did you come in? At this moment, just as Lin Rei sat down, the system's voice rang out. Me? Lin Rei raised his head and looked at the sky. He said, I have nothing to do outside, so I came in to study formations. After all, time is money. Moreover, my time is much more valuable than money. I can't afford to waste it. Hee hee. All right. The system was speechless at Lin Rei's words. All right. You can slowly study here. I won't disturb you. However, you must remember that you don't have much time left. You still have a bit of time left to become the sect master of the Talisman sect in 100 years. As for the 1,000 years mission, you don't have much time left. So, young man, hurry up. Alas. Hearing the system's reminder, Linli sighed. I was in a pretty good mood, but now that you've appeared, my good mood has been completely ruined. After saying that, Linli shut his mouth and did not say anything else. The system did the same as Linli, shutting its mouth and going into hiding. At this moment, the system space fell silent. No one spoke. Lin Rei, who was sitting on the surface of the lake, entered a state of enlightenment. Dong dong dong, in the outside world, when Jiayang was paying close attention to the movements on the auction stage, suddenly, there was a knock on his door. He turned his head and looked at the door. Jiayang was puzzled as to who was there. He didn't know who would come here. Asterisk knock knock knock, asterisk the sound of someone knocking on the door rang out once more. In response, Jiayang moved. He got up and walked to the door with confusion. The instant he extended his hand to open the door, a young man's face appeared. You are. This is your auction item. At that moment, the young man looked at Jiayang and spoke. As he spoke, he held the tray in his hand and handed it over to Jiayang. Oh. Seeing the tray, Jiayang recalled. Wasn't this young man the attendant who was dragging the soul devourer on the auction stage earlier? After understanding, Jiayang extended his hand and received the tray. Then, he placed the 9 million mid-quality divine crystals that he had prepared beforehand into a storage ring and handed it over to the young man. Here are the 9 million mid-quality divine crystals. Take them. Hearing those words, the attendant was startled. He did not accept the storage ring and instead said, Actually, you shouldn't settle the bill so quickly. Here, we wait until the end to settle the bill. Because we're afraid that the guests will continue to bid, so. Okay. Jiayang nodded his head and took back the storage ring. Then, he smiled and said, "Since that's the case, you can leave first. I might have to trouble you to make a few more trips later." "Yes." Hearing those words, the attendant's eyes shined. Then, he bowed respectfully and obediently left the room. Seeing that the attendant had left, Jiayang closed the door and put away the storage ring in his hand. After closing the door, Jiayang walked over to the window and sat on the chair that Lin Rei was sitting on earlier. He lowered his head and looked at the black cloth covering the soul devourer. Jiayang's heart moved. Then, he extended his hand and removed the black cloth covering the soul devourer. Hu, whoosh. A sword humming sound instantly resonated through the entire room. Then, the temperature of the room that was originally decent instantly dropped to the extreme. Emin? Jiayang was startled by this. His gaze was firmly fixed on the soul devourer. Until now, this was the first time that Jiayang had seen a dagger that was capable of emitting such killing intent. Such a spiritual dagger was sufficient to show how powerful it was. Unable to restrain himself, Jiayang extended his hand and grabbed the soul devourer's dagger. Suddenly, an ice-cold sensation began to spread from his hand to his arm. Then, it spread through his entire body and all the way to the back of his head. At this moment, Jiayang felt that he was bathed in killing intent. At this moment, his surroundings were naturally not the Biyao Trading Company. Instead, it was an Azura battlefield. The surrounding smoke, flames of war, broken limbs, and all kinds of bloody things were everywhere. Even the ground beneath his feet was dyed red with blood. The smell of blood rushed into Jiayang's nostrils. At this moment, Jiayang felt that everything was even more real. Hiss, this. Feeling the sensation that the soul devourer gave him, Jiayang's face revealed a trace of shock. If such a weapon was used in battle, wouldn't it be the same as the domain that only god emperors could awaken? Feeling the illusion brought about by the soul devourer, Jiayang was startled. He forcibly stabilized his invisibility. Instantly, the surrounding scene that was like an Azura from hell disappeared. His vision returned to normal. After returning to his room, his breathing became extremely fast. Jiayang placed the soul devourer back onto the tray and placed it down again. To be honest, just from the scene just now, Jiayang was tempted by the soul devourer. He really wanted to see what would happen if he were to use the soul devourer in battle. However, at this moment, when Jiayang was fantasizing in his heart, on the auction stage on the first floor, Yanhong once again became excited. The first auction item had been sold. Yanhong was unable to stop this good start. Alright, the soul devourer is not fated to be here. Since that's the case, let's move on to our second auction item. After saying that, the attendant who had been waiting for a long time walked out from the backstage and stopped beside Yanhong. He was holding a tray in his hand. The tray was still covered with a black cloth. At this moment, the crowd below the stage became excited again. Because the 100th bid was 9 million, everyone began to look forward to the auction item's price. Looking at the eager crowd below the stage, Tai Chong Yanhong opened her mouth and said, "The auction item this time is a very amazing item." After saying that, she lifted the black cloth covering the tray. Suddenly, a black stone was exposed to everyone's eyes. Emin? Yanhong, what is this? You can't be trying to fool us with a stone, right? That's right, that's right. It's so black and doesn't look like anything. What is this? That's right. What is this? At this moment, the instant the item on the tray was exposed to everyone's eyes, everyone lost their calm. There was a fist-sized stone on the tray. It was pitch black, just like a piece of coal. There was neither spirit nor spiritual aura on it. Everyone present couldn't remain calm. Everyone thought that Captivating Crimson or the White Yuan Trading Company was trying to fool them. Sensing the commotion below the stage, Yanhong was stunned. She quickly explained, everyone, please calm down. This stone is called the Chaos Stone. It is a very powerful and high-grade material for refining weapons. If a little bit of it is added during the refining process, then the grade of the weapon will be greatly improved. Moreover, the weapon refined will have a stacked attack power that is even more terrifying than the Soul Devourer. Hiss. At this moment, the crowd who questioned earlier all sucked in a breath of cold air. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Chaos Stone? At this moment, on the second floor of the Water Moon Pavilion, when Yanhong explained the Chaos Stone, Jiayang came back to his senses. When he heard it, he looked at the black stone on the stage and was shocked. He knew about the Chaos Stone. There was an introduction to the Chaos Stone in the Realm Palace's Scripture Pavilion. The Chaos Stone was a product produced in the chaos after Hongmeng's sky was created. The Chaos Stone could be used to set up formations and refine weapons. It could be said that it had many uses. However, the Chaos Stone was very easy to call. Unless one was blessed by the Dragon of Luck, otherwise, Chaos Stone. The starting bid is 2 million mid-grade divine crystals. The starting bid is 500,000 mid-grade divine crystals. Now, the competition begins. As usual, the highest bidder wins. Bam! The moment the knocking sound was heard, the price began to soar. 3 million mid-grade divine crystals. At this moment, an old man stood up. His face was flushed red as he shouted to the auction stage, 3,500,000. This Chaos Stone is Zhong Yangzi's for sure. TSK, you dare to take out 3,500,000? What a disgrace. I'll take out 4,500,000. Hiss. The moment the bid of 4,500,000 was made, the crowd sucked in a breath of cold air. Some people quieted down at this moment. They wanted to shout out a price, but they were too embarrassed to do anything. Seeing how intense the bidding was, the people on the second and third floors were ready to watch the show. Time passed by slowly. In the blink of an eye, the price had risen from 4,500,000 mid-grade divine crystals to 8,500,000. 8,500,000. 8,500,000. Is there anyone else who wants to raise the price? At this moment, Yanhong, who was on the stage, smiled when she saw the crowd raise the price to 8,500,000. Although she asked this question, she knew that the bidding on the second and third floors had not started yet. The 8,500,000 was just the beginning. 10 million, wow. The crowd could no longer remain calm. 10 million divine crystals was a huge sum of money. Even in a first-grade sect, it was more than half of their total expenditure. This voice came from one of the private rooms on the third floor. It was a man's voice. One could tell that it was the voice of a young man. 15 million, another price soared. The crowd was already numb. The crowd on the first floor gave up on competing. Instead, they were ready to watch the show. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the second and third floors. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. 20 million, 25 million, it began. The numbers that shocked the crowd on the first floor instantly impacted their hearts. These simple numbers were indeed something that they would never be able to reach in their lifetime. On the second floor, in the Water Moon Pavilion, an amused smile appeared on his face when he heard the bidding from the outside. The corner of his mouth was slightly raised. The Chaos Stone is mine. When Jiayang found out about the Chaos Stone, he had decided that he would definitely get it. There was no other reason other than the fact that Lin Rei was a blacksmith. Moreover, he knew that if Lin Rei knew about the Chaos Stone, he would probably go even crazier. He waited and waited for the bidding from the outside. Slowly, the price of 25 million became 40 million. Even a top force might not be able to bear this number. After all, a sect was not a single person, but tens of thousands of people. However, if he could spend 40 million to obtain the Chaos Stones and use them to refine weapons, he would be able to make the best use of them. The moment the bid of 40 million was announced, everyone shut their mouths. No one spoke, no one bid. At this moment, everyone seemed to have stopped breathing, and the space seemed to have frozen. Everyone was stunned in place. A few minutes later, Yanhong came back to her senses and looked at the quiet scene below the stage. Yanhong opened her mouth and ignited the atmosphere again. 40 million going once. Is there anyone else who wants to raise the price? Is there anyone else who wants to raise the price? After pausing for half a minute, Scarlet spoke again. 40 million going twice. 40 million going thrice. Done. 50 million. Boom. Everyone in the hall exploded. Even in the room on the third floor, where the 40 million bid had been shouted, a huge pressure instantly erupted. 50 million. How is 50 million possible? How is this possible? 50 million? What kind of power? The young man sitting on the seat in the room was stunned and shocked, as if this was something he had not expected. Right at this moment, within the Watermoon Pavilion, Sneer suddenly sensed a powerful aura. Lying on the bed, Sneer opened his eyes. His face was filled with confusion, but within that confusion, he was also filled with rage. Lin Rei, who was in the system, had already touched the opportunity to create a divine array. However, just as he was about to capture it, the system asked Lin Rei to leave immediately. As a result, the current scene was created. Feeling the pressure, his originally calm face instantly turned cold, and a wave of anger rushed to his heart. Are you trying to laugh yourself to death? With the cultivation of a peak mid-stage ultimate god, he instantly released his aura and rushed towards the third floor where the pressure came from. Puff! On the third floor, in the room where the pressure came from, the young man sitting in the middle opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face instantly turned pale. Chapter 8:16. How is this possible? A mid-hierarch, why is he so powerful? At this moment, an old man who was in the same room as the young man felt Lin Rei's aura. His eyes were filled with shock and doubt. He did not understand why Lin Rei's aura was able to suppress him. One should know that his cultivation level was the same as Lin Rei's. They were both mid-hierarch, but now, however, the crowd did not know about this. Once one reached the ultimate god realm, one would be able to control one's aura to suppress others without threatening them. Lin Rei naturally knew what happened in the room on the third floor. When he saw the young man vomiting blood, Lin Rei did not force him anymore. After all, he did not want to provoke someone he did not need to. He was not afraid, but he was afraid of trouble. This is a warning. He sent mentally to Linley, who was in the private room on the third floor. This is the first time. I don't want it to happen a second time. This sort of feeling makes me very uncomfortable. Also, control your temper. Not everyone is as benevolent as I am. Benevolent? Lu Feng was stunned when he heard that. He smiled bitterly in his heart. Benevolent? TSK, I'm afraid you have misunderstood the word benevolent. Of course, he naturally wouldn't say such words. After the scene just now, he knew that he was no match for the other party at all, including the strength behind him. Moreover, he wouldn't offend someone they couldn't afford to offend for such a small matter. Of course, that person must be crazy. Otherwise, no one in the world would be willing to offend such a person. They would even try their best to befriend him. Senior. I am Lu Feng, the Supreme Elder of Heavenly Spring Palace. The one beside me is my nephew, Lu He. I am really sorry for what happened just now. Lu Feng apologized while trying to mend their relationship. After all, it was better to have such a friend than to have such a powerful enemy. As the Supreme Elder of Heavenly Spring Palace, Lu Feng naturally had to consider the sect first. Although Tian Quanhong was powerful, he could not afford to offend such a person. As the saying goes, one must always be vigilant against others, and one must never have the intention to harm others. It's always right to have one more friend. All right. I understand. If there is a chance, I will return. Heavenly Spring Palace, remember that. Lin Rei naturally understood Lu Feng's intentions. However, he had to make a trip to the Heavenly Spring Palace. After all, he was going to ascend in a few hundred years. He did not want to see the heavenly spring palace decline and the future generations suffer after he ascended. Good, 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 good. Lu Feng will definitely welcome you on behalf of the heavenly spring palace. In response to Lin Rei's response, Lu Feng smiled. He smiled very happily, just like a child. The wrinkles on his face were like caterpillars hanging on his face. At the side, the young man who was coughing up blood was stunned. He looked at his uncle with a face full of shock. After he regained consciousness, he rarely saw his uncle smile, especially now. At the same time, it was also because of this scene that the young man knew that he might have offended someone he could not afford to offend. When he thought of this, Lu He's body could not help but tremble. His face turned even paler, and blood continued to flow out of his mouth. All right, participate in the auction well. I'm tired. Seeing that Lu Feng did not stop talking, Lin Rei's tone turned cold. Then, he cut off the call with Lu Feng. At that moment, in the Water Moon Pavilion, Lin Rei did not get up after ending his conversation with Lu Feng. Instead, he turned off the command and entered the system again. He wanted to try to find the breakthrough opportunity that he had sensed earlier. Throughout the entire process, Jia Yang had been sensing it. He knew that Lin Rei had woken up. However, Jia Yang did not say anything. Instead, he focused all his attention on the stage. He was confident that Lin Rei could handle this. At that moment, when he sensed that Lin Rei had fallen asleep again, Jia Yang was stunned. Then, he focused all his attention on the stage. He wanted to obtain the Chaos Stone for Lin Rei's sake. At that moment, the auction hall was still in silence. However, as the auctioneer, Yan Hong was also stunned for a moment. Then, she came back to her senses and looked at the Water Moon Pavilion on the second floor in shock. Her face was filled with doubt and shock. She did not understand why the Water Moon Pavilion, which was on the second floor, dared to compete with the third floor. Moreover, from the looks of it, they seemed to be winning. When she came back to her senses and saw Biyau's gaze at the staircase, Yan Hong was stunned. Then, she returned to her role. All right, 50 million. 50 million going once. Is there anyone who wants to increase the price? Half a minute passed and still, no one said anything. Yan Hong had already reached the conclusion. Moreover, she did not expect the Chaos Stone to be worth so many divinity crystals. She was excited. Seeing that no one around her responded, and that no one on the second and third floor responded, Yan Hong suddenly opened her mouth. 50 million going twice, 50 million going thrice. Having said that, she looked at everyone in the auction hall again. Then, she lifted her hand and smashed the small hammer on the stage. Pung! A muffled sound rang out as the hammer struck the deal. Deal! Congratulations to the Water Moon Pavilion for winning the bid again. Congratulations. Having said that, Yan Hong put down the small hammer in her hand and clapped her hands to congratulate. However, at this moment, Yan Hong's clapping pulled everyone back to reality. In an instant, everyone in the auction hall clapped their hands and cheered, clap clap clap. For a while, the entire auction hall was filled with clapping sounds. They were all congratulating the Water Moon Pavilion's bidder. Of course, in everyone's hearts, they naturally did not agree. Some of them were sincerely congratulating the Water Moon Pavilion, while others were sincerely jealous. Some wanted to find out the identity of the Water Moon Pavilion's bidder, while others began to scheme in their hearts. However, they did not know that while they were in a daze, the Water Moon Pavilion had already clashed with Lu Feng on the third floor. If this matter was known by everyone present, no matter how low Lin Rei's bid was, no one would make a move. Because, they wanted to curry favor with him. Looking at each other in the auction hall, the corners of Jia Yang's mouth curled up into a smile. On the auction stage, Yan Hong gestured to the attendant who was holding the Chaos Stone beside her, telling him to go forward and pass the auction item to the guest in the Water Moon Pavilion. The attendant waited for the signal in Yan Hong's eyes. Then, he nodded his head and left the auction stage, walking towards the Water Moon Pavilion on the second floor. At this moment, Biyau's gaze swept across the water moon pavilion on the second floor. He pondered a lot in his heart. Tisk, so many divine crystals have been spent. It has completely exceeded the level of entering the third floor. Should I move it to the third floor? At this moment, Biyao began to ponder about this problem. If Lin Rui knew what he was thinking, he would definitely snort disdainfully. After all, in his opinion, as long as it was in the room, it was the same everywhere. Next, Yan Hong did not stop. She brought up the third auction item. This time, it was a mirror named Universe. There was a universe in the mirror that could accommodate and refine all things. Its grade was a quasi-sage level auxiliary weapon. Of course, to female cultivators, this was what they wanted the most. After all, everyone loved beauty. At this moment, the people in the auction hall did not move like before. For a moment, they were not particularly interested in this item. They were afraid that the Water Moon Pavilion would bid again. After all, the first two auction items had already entered the Water Moon Pavilion's pockets. The starting bid for Universe is 1 million mid-grade divine crystals. The starting bid is 1 million mid-grade divine crystals. The highest bidder wins. The auction begins. After the announcement, the auction hall instantly became silent. Everyone on the first floor raised their heads and looked in the direction of the Water Moon Pavilion. It was as if they were waiting for the Water Moon Pavilion to make a move. It was not only the first floor. A small portion of the people on the second and third floors were also looking at the Water Moon Pavilion with expectant gazes. They wanted to see just how much money the people in the Water Moon Pavilion had for him to squander like this. However, Jiayang did not pay any attention to the gazes of the crowd. He did not say anything. Instead, he quietly looked at the universe on the attendance tray. In an instant, Jiayang entered deep thought. Time slowly passed. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 minutes had passed. During these 10 minutes, the crowd did not hear any more bids from the Water Moon Pavilion on the second floor. Because of this, the crowd subconsciously thought that the Water Moon Pavilion had given up on this round of tokens. Suddenly, after this confirmation, the crowd once again went into an uproar. Of course, the uproar was mostly among the female cultivators. There were also some male cultivators, but not many. 1,500,000, 2 million, an hour passed. The bidding had not stopped. Now, most of the people on the second and third floors were competing. The first floor had completely given up on the competition because they did not have enough money. Now, they were completely reduced to spectators. They were no longer auctioneers. At this moment, their identities had undergone a substantial change. 10 million. I, the Water Moon Pavilion, will take this item. Fellow Taoists, please give me some face. In the future, the Water Moon Pavilion will be eternally grateful. How about it? At this moment, in a room on the third floor, a woman with an expression of instant death looked at the second and third floors through the window with an expectant gaze. The Water Moon, you think I will give it to you just because you want it? At this moment, another woman was on the third floor. However, the aura emitted from her body made people shudder. It was not the same as the Water Moon from before who gave people a comfortable feeling. You. Hearing this, the Water Moon was stunned. Hesitation appeared on her face. She knew that this woman who had fought with her for her entire life would not let her have her way. Rather than both sides suffering, it was better to give up. Thinking of this, the Water Moon's face was filled with disappointment. Her eyes couldn't help but become moist. I know. Lan Yu, since you like it, then you can bid for it. Give up. Because of that woman called Lan Yu, the Water Moon gave up on bidding. Regarding this, the crowd was stunned. They did not expect this ending. On the auction stage, Yan Hong also did not expect things to turn out this way. However, there was nothing she could do about it. Looking at the situation, her curiosity had already settled. In response, Yan Hong raised her head and asked Lan Yu on the third floor, I wonder how much Miss Lan Yu will bid and how much will you bid for it? I advise you to be sensible. Feeling that she had won, Lan Yu felt relieved. At this moment, Yan Hong's voice sounded. In response, Lan Yu, who was feeling happy, immediately said, 2 million. As soon as these words came out, the crowd was shocked because she actually did not need to spend so many divine crystals. Alright, 12 million going once, this was already the best result for her. She would bid as much as she could. In any case, the trading firm would still make a profit in the end. Seeing that no one in the auction house was making a counterbid, Yan Hong continued to say, 12 million going twice, 12 million going thrice. At this final juncture, the crowd's breathing could not help but quicken. It was as if they were the ones who had bought this universe. However, just when everyone thought that the matter was completely settled, suddenly, a familiar voice sounded, 13 million. As soon as these words came out, the crowd looked at the Water Moon Pavilion with astonishment. Their eyes were filled with interest. I knew that this person would definitely bid again. As expected, he bid again. On the third floor, Lu Feng was listening to the bidding from the Water Moon Pavilion in his room. For a moment, his face was filled with an interesting smile. At this moment, the crowd was completely helpless. It was not for anything else but the fact that the Water Moon Pavilion did not open their mouth to start the auction. Moreover, they had waited for more than 10 minutes. However, just when everyone was stunned, Jia Yang of the Water Moon Pavilion laughed. Just as the Jianghu mirror appeared, and after learning of its uses, Jia Yang sank into deep thought. He was wondering if Linley's aura or his daughter would like this Jianghu mirror. Just when Jia Yang was thinking about whether to buy it or not, he heard the competition between the Water Moon and Lan Yu. Suddenly, Jia Yang had an idea. Since these two women were fighting like this, then Lin Rei's wife or daughter would also like it. Because of this, there was such a scene. Regarding this, if the crowd knew about Jia Yang's idea, they would definitely faint on the spot and not be willing to wake up again. On the third floor, Lan Yu's room was quite big. She wanted to bid for Jia Yang's auction, but she was stopped by the people beside her. There's no need to bid. This person's financial strength is strong. We don't even know his background and power. This kind of person should not be offended. Just give up. Hearing this, Lan Yu's eyes were filled with hesitation. But after thinking about what she said just now, Lan Yu finally nodded. Although she was reluctant, she still agreed in the end. Okay, with Lan Yu's agreement, everyone present sunk into complete silence. And at this moment, Captivating Red knew that the outcome was already decided. She didn't hesitate, and in the end, the final decision was made. With a knock as proof, the universe mirror was successfully won by Jia Yang for 13 million. Just like this, what was originally a good auction became the Water Moon Pavilion's private collection auction. Next, almost all the auction items that were brought up on the surface became the Water Moon Pavilion cyst. Chapter 8:17. Regarding the Water Moon Pavilion's action of killing everyone was extremely furious. They even had the thought of killing them. However, the fact was that they did not have the financial resources to match the Water Moon Pavilion. They could only give up. As for the Water Moon Pavilion, the entire White Yuan Trading Company was filled with curiosity. At the same time, they were also filled with vigilance. Those who were able to come here were mostly people from the sects of the Divine Realm. How could they not be worried when a person with such powerful financial resources suddenly appeared? They were afraid. They were afraid that the people from the Water Moon Pavilion would obstruct them. They were afraid that the people from the Water Moon Pavilion would replace their position. They were not confident. They were afraid. They were afraid of such a powerful existence. This kind of fear was something they had never experienced before. This was the first time in their lives, and they believed that this would definitely not be the last time. At this moment, in the Water Moon Pavilion, looking at the auction items that were placed all over the floor, Jia Yang had a satisfied smile on his face. Regarding the task that Lin Rei gave him, Jia Yang felt that he had done it perfectly. Furthermore, he felt that these things should be very liked by Lin Rei's relatives. Of course, when buying these things, Jia Yang did not seem to consider whether or not Lin Rei had that many divine crystals. Instead, he only thought of completing the task. Looking at the auction items on the floor, Jia Yang smiled and nodded in satisfaction. He then got up and walked to the bedside. Looking at Lin Rei, who was resting with his eyes closed, Jia Yang bent down and reached out his hand to touch Lin Rei's arm. He then gently shook it. Lin Rei. Lin Rei, quickly get up. The task you gave me has been completed. Do you think you can do it? A few minutes later, the room was completely silent. Lin Rei did not wake up at all. He was still in the state of resting with his eyes closed. Emin? Seeing that Lin Rei was still sleeping, Jia Yang spoke again. Lin Rei, quickly get up. In the system space. Boy, quickly wake up. Go out and see that little guy Jia Yang. He has completed the task for you. Hee hee. At this moment, the system had an amused smile as it called out to Lin Rei. As the system, it naturally knew everything about Jia Yang's actions in the outside world. Lin Rei let out a soft groan as he sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. Then, Lin Rei moved his lips, and his tightly shut eyes slowly opened at this moment. All of a sudden, a beam of light shot out, and a terrifying aura spread out. It disappeared as quickly as it appeared, and the pressure disappeared in the blink of an eye. After recovering completely, Zhang Xian raised his head and asked doubtfully, "When did you call me?" Previously, it was because of those bastards that I lost a good opportunity. What's going on this time? Because of what had happened before, Lin Rei was a little impatient at the moment. He hated being disturbed when he was cultivating, especially when he was at a crucial point in his cultivation. The system understood Lin Rei's actions very well. It paused for a moment before opening its mouth to explain, "It's like this. The auction is about to end. Everything that should be bought has been bought. Jia Yang is currently calling for you outside. You see. Is the auction over?" Hearing this, Lin Rei was stunned. Then, his impatience instantly disappeared and he repeated himself. "Yes, hurry up and go out. This little guy is amazing. Not only did he bid for something for you, he even drew a huge wave of hatred for you." The system teased. Suddenly, a bad premonition surged in his heart. Lin Rei really didn't know what would happen to Jia Yang, a guy who hadn't seen much of the world, especially when it was said by the system. For a moment, Lin Li knew that this matter was most likely not as simple as he had thought. Thinking about it, he became anxious and waved his hand at the system. With a thought, he left the system space and returned to his main body. "Lin Li, hurry up and wake up. The auction is about to end. Should we leave?" At this moment, Jia Yang immediately started to panic upon seeing that Lin Li was still not waking up. At this moment, just as he returned to his main body, he heard Jia Yang's anxious and concerned voice. His heart warmed and he slowly opened his eyes. What entered his eyes was Jia Yang's anxious face. Looking at him, Lin Rei smiled and said, "Okay, don't call me. I'm already awake." Hearing this, Jia Yang's body trembled. Then, he looked at Lin Rei's face. The moment he saw Lin Rei open his eyes, the worry in his heart was relieved. "You scared me to death." Seeing that Lin Rei had woken up, Jia Yang smiled and retreated to the side. "It's nothing. I'm just too tired." Lin Rei could only answer Jia Yang's words like this. He couldn't say that he didn't hear it in the system. Coming back to his senses, Lin Rei stood up and looked at Jia Yang in front of him. He asked, "What's wrong? Is the auction over?" Just now, he heard the system say it once. Now that he woke up, he heard the system say it again. Regarding this, Lin Rei went straight to the point. "Yes." Jia Yang nodded. Then, he took a step to the side and pointed at the auction items that were placed on the ground. He said, "These are the auction items that I bought for you. I have completed your mission. Do you think it's okay?" Hearing this, Lin Rei raised his head and looked at the direction that Jiayang was pointing at. However, the moment Lin Rei saw the direction that Jiayang was pointing at, he was stunned. He looked at the colorful, green, and all kinds of auction items in front of him. Looking at these, a bad thought appeared in his mind. Damn, these can't all be bought by Jiayang, right? As soon as this thought appeared, Lin Rei thought, please don't be. Please don't be. He knew that this place wasn't like a shop. This was an auction house. All the auction items could only be obtained by the highest bidder. However, just as this thought appeared in Linley's mind, Jiayang, who was standing to the side, said with a smile, "These are all right, right? Originally, I wanted to film a few more, but seeing that those were useless, I couldn't be bothered to film them." Ugh. Boom. It was as if thunder from the 9 heavens exploded in his heart. Suddenly, Lin Rei felt pain in his heart. His mind instantly went blank. His blank mind was filled with Jiayang's last sentence. Too lazy to buy them. It was like a demon's voice that lingered in his ears. It was like a stone carving. However, it stayed in his mind for a long time. Pain. His heart was in pain. At this moment, Lin Rei really wanted to give himself a big slap. He was very regretful. If he knew that the result would be like this, even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't have allowed Jiayang to participate in the auction. Moreover, this was an auction. It proved that you were a killer. After a long time, Lin Rei finally came back to his senses. Looking at the dazzling array of auction items in front of him, Lin Rei felt dizzy. There were so many things. How many divine crystals would they need? 50 million? 90 million? Or more than 100 million? Lin Rei didn't want to guess. He also didn't dare to guess. If that was really the case, then he would return to his previous state and become a true pauper. No need to be excited. There is also no need to thank me. After all, I am a member of the Xuanzong Sect. Your matter is my matter. So, ugh. Hearing Jiayang's words, Lin Rei only managed to say the word I. However, the words after that were stuck in his throat, making him unable to speak. Thank you? You aren't joking, right? I even have the thought of killing you. There were so many things. You really know how to. Thinking of this, his heart ached. However, he still squeezed out a smile on his face. After all, it was because of his request that Jiayang acted like this. However, the smile on Linley's face right now was even uglier than if he had been crying. So many of these things belonged to him, but some of them were things that he was capable of making. This made Linley feel even more depressed. Everyone, this is the last auction item for today. However, the difference between this auction item and the previous ones is that this auction item is a person. A person who possesses the purgatory body. At this time, while Lin Rei was feeling stifled, a clear and melodious voice resounded. In response, the gloomy Lin Rei was stunned. He then stood up, walked to the window and sat down. It wasn't because of the voice just now. It was because of the information that the voice brought. The purgatory body was the starting point of a person's cultivation. It could be said that possessing a purgatory body was equivalent to winning at the starting line. Lin Rei needed this kind of person the most. Moreover, Lin Rei had never heard of the purgatory body before. He didn't know if it was the same as his Hongmeng Supreme body. Hearing this, the crowd was stunned. They had never heard of this news before. However, everyone knew about the purgatory body. If they were able to obtain a person with the purgatory body, it would mean that their clan or sect would be able to rise rapidly in the future. Is this true? Is there really a purgatory body to be auctioned? At this time, Lu Feng couldn't help but ask. Everyone present wanted to obtain a person with the purgatory body. Of course, this included Lin Rei. That's right. If there really is a purgatory body, why don't you cultivate it yourself? Why are you auctioning it off? That's right. Moreover, auctioning a living person, isn't that something that only the slave market does? By doing this, aren't you? At this moment, all kinds of questions appeared. They were all asking about the purgatory body. Of course, Lin Rei was also very curious about this question. Just as the person said, if there really was a person with the purgatory body, why didn't the White Yuan Trading Company cultivate it themselves? Why would they auction it off? If that was the case, then what was the difference between them and the slave market? However, at this moment, Yan Hong, who was standing on the auction stage, stopped the questioning voices below. For a moment, she didn't get angry and instead laughed. She opened her mouth and explained, "That's right. Everyone is correct. My White Yuan Trading Company can keep the purgatory body for ourselves to cultivate, but, at this moment, someone else is consigning it for sale. If our White Yuan Trading Company wants to obtain it, then it must be obtained through the auction. Moreover, I'm not afraid to tell you that although this child has the purgatory body has already been severed a long, long time ago. It can be said that the inheritance of the purgatory body has already been severed." What? What use is there for the purgatory body that has been severed? Isn't this clearly cheating us? That's right. Although the purgatory body is good, it is still a purgatory body without inheritance. It is equivalent to a useless purgatory body. This, for a moment, everyone present began to refute. Everyone was filled with disdain. They no longer had the passion for the purgatory body from before. Instead, they were filled with disdain. Seeing that the crowd no longer had the desire to compete like before, Yan Hong was momentarily stunned. Of course, although she was stunned, she didn't give up on the auction because of this. Everyone, if you want to compete, then bid. If you don't want to bid, then don't cause trouble. All right. At this moment, after Yan Hong finished speaking, 9 attendants slowly walked out from the backstage carrying an iron cage. As usual, the cage was covered with a piece of black cloth. This scene caused everyone's gaze to gather on the cage. Although they didn't want to bid, they still wanted to see what this person looked like. A useless purgatory body? Looking at the iron cage carried by the 9 attendants, his heart was restless. To others, this purgatory body might be a useless purgatory body. However, to Lin Rei, that might not necessarily be the case. Dong! There was a muffled sound. The 9 attendants placed the iron cage on the auction stage and then retreated to the side. At this moment, seeing that the auction was ready, Yan Hong hurriedly walked up and lifted the black cloth on the cage. Then, a young man who looked to be around 16 or 14 years old appeared before everyone's eyes. The young man's face was like jade and his skin was like snow. However, he seemed to have been tortured. His originally snow-white skin was covered with old scars and some new scars. However, what caught everyone's attention wasn't his handsomeness. Instead, it was his cold and hateful gaze. This gaze caused everyone's hearts to tremble. It was somewhat unnatural. Looking at the young man who was filled with hatred, Lin Rei was stunned. His face was filled with an amused smile. This kind of young man was rare. Moreover, Lin Rei didn't believe that he was only 16 or 14 years old. Although he looked that way, his eyes couldn't hide it. The purgatory body. The starting bid is 1 million divine crystals. The starting bid is 800,000 divine crystals. The auction starts now. The highest bidder wins. The auction started. However, to Yan Hong's surprise, there was complete silence. Not a single person made a bid. TCH, Yan Hong, who do you think will buy this piece of trash? 1 million divine crystals. That's enough to nurture a disciple. Yeah, no one is willing to buy this piece of trash. I think your Bai Yuan is the only one who can buy it. After all, you don't lack divine crystals. Ha ha ha, at this moment, Yan Hong's face turned cold. She didn't say anything. Instead, she waited quietly. According to the rules of the auction house, even if no one bought it, they would have to wait for half an hour before it could be taken off the shelf. Seeing that everyone was looking at her with interest, Jianghu ignored everyone's gazes. Instead, she turned her gaze to Biyao, who was still at the top of the stairs. However, on the second floor of the Water Moon Pavilion, Lin Ray's lips curled up slightly when he saw that no one was bidding on the stage. This was the situation he wanted to see the most right now. Because this way, no one would bid against him. This way, he could spend less divine crystals. Even so, Lin Ray didn't make a bid immediately. Instead, he waited quietly. He would only make a move when the final bid was raised. During this time, he was also observing the young man with the purgatory body on the stage. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the item to be taken off the shelf. At this moment, Jianghu on the stage was slightly disappointed when she saw that no one was bidding. She opened her mouth and was about to announce that the item was going to be taken off the shelf. Chapter 8:18. The time limit for the auction has expired. Since no one has chosen to bid, then I won't be able to bid for this item. Seeing the indifferent expressions of the audience, Jianghu smiled and began to announce. However, just as Jianghu was about to finish, a voice rang out. It attracted the attention of everyone present, including the young man in the cage. 1,500,000. I bid 1,500,000. I want this person, said Lin Ray. In the Water Moon Pavilion, Lin Ray looked down at the audience with an amused smile. As soon as Jianghu ordered the servants to bring out the strangle hell physique, Lin Ray had already decided that he wanted this person. Really? It had come too suddenly. Jianghu had thought that no one would bid for it. After all, the time limit was already up. She had thought that the Water Moon Pavilion would bid for it, but after an hour had passed, she had given up. But now, I don't want to say it a second time. Looking at captivating red, Linley said coldly. Jianghu stared blankly for a moment, then nodded repeatedly. Okay. Now that the auction item could be sold, it would be a perfect addition to her performance. Jianghu was naturally willing to do so. Smiling, she swept her gaze over the audience and announced, 1,500,000. 1,500,000. Is there anyone? 1,500,000 going once. Although she knew that no one would bid for it, the rules were like that. As the auctioneer, she could not break the rules. 1,500,000 going twice. 1,500,000 going thrice. Bang. Sold. The hammer struck, and the auction ended. Jianghu felt much more at ease. After all, as long as the hammer didn't make a sound, anything was possible. Congratulations to the Water Moon Pavilion for bidding for the Strangle Hell physique at 1,500,000. She turned around, intending to signal the servant to bring the cage to the Water Moon Pavilion on the second floor. Just leave it there. I'll handle it myself. Within the Water Moon Pavilion, Linley watched the attendant's actions, then rose to his feet and said. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure flickered. He teleported and disappeared from the Water Moon Pavilion. In the next moment, a young man suddenly appeared next to the iron cage on the auction stage, causing everyone to be on guard. This. At this moment, Jianghu, who was still in the Water Moon Pavilion, saw Lin Ray's actions and the corners of his mouth twitched. Then, he restrained himself and collected all of the auction items on the floor. Then, he quickly chased after Lin Ray and landed on the auction stage. The actions of Lin Ray and Yizichin had completely attracted the attention of everyone present. There was shock, fear, doubt, and even a trace of desire to explore. Looking at the two people who had appeared, the crowd fell silent instantly. They could feel the cultivation bases of Lin Ray and Lin Fan. No matter which sect they were in, they would be at the level of Grand Elders or Sect Masters or Elders. As the auctioneer, Jianghu naturally saw them. She was stunned for a moment before recovering. Looking at the sudden appearance of Lin Ray and Yizichin, Jianghu smiled and said, Senior, you are. Yanhong had seen Lin Rui, a guest of the Water Moon Pavilion, before. So, she could understand why Lin Rui would ask such a question. I'm from the Water Moon Pavilion. I'm the one who bid for this purgatory body, replied Lin Rui. Then, he slowly walked towards the iron cage. As for Jiayang, he appeared in front of Yanhong. It seemed that whatever Yanhong wanted to ask next, he would directly refuse. Facing Lin Rui's straightforwardness, Yanhong smiled and quickly took a step back. Since the main character had already arrived, there was nothing for her to do here. She retreated to the side and quietly watched what the young man in front of her wanted to do. After so many years, this was the first time she had seen such a situation, so she was very curious. She wanted to know what Lin Rui wanted to do next. Ignoring the gazes of the surrounding people, Lin Li stared at the youngster in the cage with a smile on his face. Standing next to the cage, he said, "What is your name? Where do you come from? Why do you hate me so much?" Lin Rui didn't open his mouth. Instead, he ignored Lin Rui's question as if he didn't hear it. From the beginning to the end, the young man's eyes were filled with hatred as he glared at the person who had taken him down. Seeing that the young man didn't respond, Lin Rui patiently asked again. When it came to talents, he didn't care about such details. I'll ask you one more time. Tell me what I asked before and I can help you. After saying that, Lin Rui looked at the young man in the cage and was stunned. Then, Lin Rui waved his hand and destroyed the cage that locked the young man. The mysterious gold chains that shackled the young man's hands were also destroyed. At this moment, the young man regained his freedom. Looking at him, Lin Rui smiled. I've already expressed my most sincere response. For the sake of fairness, shouldn't you tell me too? This, at the side, seeing Lin Rui's actions, Yanhong was stunned. Obviously, she didn't expect Lin Rui's actions. She wasn't the only one. Everyone else present was the same. They had never imagined that Lin Li would buy such a person, and even treat him in such a manner. You. At this moment, the young man was also stunned. His face was filled with confusion. You're letting me go just like that? Why are you doing this? He was very puzzled. He didn't understand why the person in front of him was doing this. Without a cultivation method, he was like a ruin. He really couldn't figure out what he had that could attract the person in front of him except for the suppressing prison. Lin Rui naturally understood the young man's puzzlement. He smiled and said, "There's no reason. If I said it was for fun, would you believe me?" These words caused everyone in the surroundings to be stunned once more. Who would believe that you're spending 1.5 million divine crystals just to be happy? I'm afraid even you don't believe it. This thought appeared in everyone's mind, but they didn't dare to say it out loud. At the side, Jiayang, who was standing at the side, saw the young man dilly-dallying and felt anxious for him. He then urged, "I say, kid, hurry up and say it. I'm telling you, if you don't say it now, there won't be another chance like this." Others didn't know how powerful Lin Rui was, but he knew it very well. Not only did he experience the lightning tribulation in the ancient corpse trove, but he also experienced the red dragon of a late-stage Dao fruit saint. Therefore, when he saw the young man dilly-dallying, Jiayang couldn't help but ask. I. Hearing Jiayang's words, although the young man didn't understand, there was a voice in his heart telling him to answer. The young man struggled with the voice in his heart, but in the end, he couldn't resist it. He instantly closed his eyes and tears welled up in his eyes. He clenched his fists and his nails dug into his flesh. A trace of scarlet blood flowed out. At this moment, his mind and curiosity completely collapsed. His body couldn't help but tremble. Lin Rui was puzzled by the young man's action. Other than revenge for the destruction of his family, Lin Rui couldn't think of any other reason. He didn't say anything. He stood there quietly and stared at the young man. At this moment, Lin Rui turned from an expert to an ordinary listener. I am the young master of the Xia family, Xia Tianchen. My father is the head of the Xia family, Xia Ding. Originally, our family lived a very perfect life. It could be said that we stood aloof from worldly affairs. After saying that, the young man who originally had a gentle smile on his face suddenly had a malevolent expression. But not long ago, a great battle occurred. Oh. Hearing the young man's words, Lin Rei came to a realization. It was as he guessed. This young man's background was not simple. Earlier, he could tell that the aura emitted from the young man's body was not like that of an ordinary person. Amen. With ice-cold hatred, the young man stared at Lin Rei. His face was malevolent and he gnashed his teeth. It was as if Lin Rei was his enemy. He wanted to skin Lin Rei and drink his blood. Not long ago, a group of people suddenly barged in. Without any explanation, they began to kill people. They didn't differentiate between men and women, old and young. Even my 2-year-old sister, my father led the family to resist. However, the difference in strength between the two sides was too great. 3,654 people were killed mercilessly. The two sides fought for 2 days and 2 nights. In the end, the family was annihilated, and my father's subordinates protected me with their lives. In the end, they threw me into the mountains of infinity to save my life. Hearing this, Lin Rei nodded. How's the overall strength of your family? How's the strength of the people who invaded your family? A family with more than 3,000 people was no longer a small family. However, no one knew about this incident. This made Lin Rei very curious. My father is a peak late-stage ultimate god. My family is a family of inheritance. I don't know how strong they are. As for the people who came, I guess they are all in the sage realm because my father had a hard time in their hands. He was even killed by one of them in an instant. After saying that, Xia Tianchen hugged his head and squatted on the ground in pain. Saint realm? Looking at Xia Tianchen, who was crying because of his family's annihilation, Lin Rei was stunned. Being targeted by a saint was not a small matter. Moreover, the Xia family must have something that was worth a saint's attention. Otherwise, of course, there was one thing that Lin Rei did not understand. Why would a saint appear in the realm of the gods? Moreover, Xia Tianchen's words sounded very familiar. There was more than one saint. The only possibility was that those saints were probably from the upper realm. Regarding this matter, Lin Li knew that it had already exceeded the scope of his ability to understand it. However, since he wanted to subdue them, this matter was no longer a problem. Moreover, his enemy seemed to be even stronger. The Holy World's heavenly court was not to be underestimated. If so, those low-level saints were still a problem. Thinking about this, the worry in his heart disappeared. Looking at the crying Xia Tianchen, Lin Rei paused and said, "Follow me and submit to me. I will give you the power to take revenge. No matter who the other party is, I will be your strong backing. As long as you submit to me, your hatred will be my hatred. What do you think?" Submit to you? Lin Rei's words stunned Xia Tianchen. Logically speaking, he had already been bought by the person in front of him. It could be said that he had become the person in front of him's slave. However, that's right. Submit to me and take me as your master. I will give you the power to destroy everything. What do you think? Hearing this benefit that was like a meat pie falling from the sky, the first answer in his mind was to agree. However, with the previous experience of having his sect destroyed, he was afraid. He was afraid that this might be a trap. He did not understand why the person in front of him would think so highly of a piece of trash like him. He did not dare to agree. What? You're not willing? Seeing Xia Tianchen's hesitation, confusion, and indecisiveness, Lin Li was stunned. He felt a bit of anger in his heart, but when he thought of Xia Tianchen's experiences, Lin Li felt at ease. Sighing, his anger dissipated. He slowly said, I know what you're thinking. You're worried that this is a trap, and you feel that you're a piece of trash, right? How did you? Shock. He was shocked that the person in front of him could see through his thoughts. Heh. Seeing Xia Tianxin's expression, Lin Rei knew that he guessed correctly. Actually, you don't have to be like this. I chose you because of your physique and the hatred in your eyes. Oh. That's right. As if he suddenly thought of something, he immediately said, I have the purgatory body technique. Of course, if you miss this opportunity, then your vengeance, your hatred, will disappear along with the limitation of your life. Looking at Xia Tianxin, Lin Rei's eyes were slightly disappointed. That's all I have to say. 1 minute. I'll give you 1 minute to consider. After that, no matter what your answer is, I will make you satisfied. After saying that, Lin Rei turned around and looked at Jia Yang, who was at the side. He did not speak. Just like that, the scene was extremely silent. On the auction stage, around Lin Rei, a formation was faintly discernible. It wrapped around Lin Rei, Xia Tianxin, and Jia Yang. Other than the three of them, no one else could hear the conversation between Lin Rei and Xia Tianxin. Even Yanhong, who was at the side, could not hear it. Time slowly passed as Xia Tianxin was entangled and hesitant. Lin Rei had also thought about Xia Tianxin's answer. Minute by minute, second by second, he wrote. It wasn't long, but it wasn't short either. Just like that, Lin Li turned around and looked at him. His eyes were startled, and he said in a dignified manner, What's your answer? Plop. As soon as Lin Rei opened his mouth, Xia Tianxin knelt on the ground and kowtowed with a sincere face. He said, Master, disciple Xia Tianxin acknowledges you as my master today. I will never betray you. If I make a mistake, may I be struck by lightning from the 9th heaven and be burned by the flames of purgatory. I will lose all my senses and die a horrible death. Hee. Hearing Xia Tianxin's words, Lin Rei's face revealed a smile. Obviously, this answer was what he wanted to hear. Congratulations, young master, you have a disciple. At the side, seeing this result, Jia Yang quickly said. Good. Good. A purgatory body was like a treasure to Lin Rei. He believed that under his careful nurturing, the purgatory body would definitely be able to shine and shock the 9 heavens and 10 earths. After saying 4 good words, he stepped forward and reached out to help Xia Tianxin up. From now on, you are my disciple, Lin Rei. There are still a few senior brothers and sisters before you. As for their cultivation, you will know when we return to the sect. Chapter 8:19. Thank you, Master. Looking at his master, Xia Tianxin's originally dead eyes revealed a glimmer of hope at this moment. Although it was only a little, it was much better than before. Looking at Xia Tianxin's current appearance, Lin Rei smiled, All right, eat this and recover your injuries. As for the cultivation technique, I will give it to you when we reach the sect so that you can practice it. Lin Rei did not have the purgatory body cultivation technique, but he thought that the system must have it. Okay. Hearing this, Xia Tianxin nodded and took the pill from Lin Rei's hand and swallowed it without any hesitation. Boom! A terrifying medicinal power exploded in Xia Tianxin's stomach and rushed towards his limbs, bones, and internal organs. The old and new injuries on his body slowly recovered under the effect of the powerful medicinal power of the pill. Even the scars gradually disappeared at this moment. Feeling the hope in his body, Xia Tianxin was stunned. He lowered his head and saw that the frightening scar on his arm had disappeared. At this moment, he knew that the master in front of him was not simple. Moreover, at this moment, he rejoiced. He rejoiced that he had acknowledged Su Mo as his master. At this moment, he no longer doubted that his revenge was just a dream. Looking at Xia Tianxin's recovery, Lin Rei smiled and waved his hand, breaking the formation that he had set up earlier. Let's go and pay for the things that you bid for earlier. Looking at Jia Yang, Lin Rei's mouth could not help but twitch. Thinking that the divine crystals in his storage ring were about to be used up, he subconsciously covered his chest with his hand as his heart ached. You. What's wrong with you? At this moment, Jiayang, who was beside him, felt the same as Lin Rei and asked with concern. I'm fine. Lin Rei could only answer Jiayang's question in this way. He could not tell Jiayang that he was tempted by the fact that he was about to go bankrupt. If that was the case, his great and imposing figure in everyone's heart would disappear and be replaced by the influence of a greedy and miser. Oh, okay. Seeing that Lin Rei was fine, Jiayang nodded. Then, he walked behind Lin Rei and slowly walked to Yanhong's side. May I ask, how should I address you? At this moment, Yanhong saw Lin Rei's figure approaching her. She bowed and quickly said, I'm Yanhong. Lin Rei, Xuanzong's sect. Lin Rei did not hide anything when he heard that. After all, he did not believe that there was anyone who could contend against him with his current strength. Moreover, his objective this time was to spread the name of the Xuanzong sect. That way, he would not have to worry about the sect being disturbed when he left for the saints' world. What? Xuanzong sect? Yanhong's eyes were filled with astonishment. She knew about the Xuanzong sect. It was the most popular sect in the entire divine realm during this period of time. Moreover, it was said that the sect's cultivators were extremely powerful. They had countless godly venerables. Even the old top experts in the divine realm were no match for them. At this moment, the person in front of her said that he was a member of the Xuanzong sect. How could Yanhong not be shocked? You know about the Xuanzong sect? Yanhong's expression and actions puzzled Lin Rei, especially when she heard the words Xuanzong sect. Yanhong's eyes widened and her expression was filled with astonishment. Lin Rei knew from her expression that she had definitely heard of the Xuanzong sect. Heh. Yanhong smiled when she heard Lin Rei's words. She then said, Xuanzong sect. Who in the divine realm doesn't know of the Xuanzong sect's prestige? A top sect fought against the Xuanzong sect and returned in defeat. This matter has spread throughout the divine realm. After that, there were a few more times, but the final result was the same. The Xuanzong sect is very mysterious. They do not recruit disciples because everyone's strength is very high. Now, even the weakest person in the Xuanzong sect is a divine ancestor. Lin Rei's eyes narrowed when he heard Yanhong's introduction. A murderous aura flashed through his eyes. Heh, you're courting death. You actually dared to go to the Xuanzong sect. It seems that this time, the divine realm needs to be intimidated. It was just a flash, but captivating Hong clearly felt that the moment the murderous aura appeared, her body seemed to have been plunged into the ice of the 9 hells. Her entire person, whether it was her body or her soul, was frozen at this moment, unable to extricate herself. It was as if the Lin Rei in front of her was no longer a human, but a death god from the 9 hells who was waving at her. She was terrified. Young master, be careful. Jiayang, who was beside him, sensed Yanhong's hope. He then moved closer to Lin Rei and whispered in his ear. After being awakened by Jiayang's voice, Lin Rei was stunned. He looked at Yanhong, who was trembling and sweating coldly. Lin Rei felt guilty and quickly apologized. I'm sorry. Are you all right? I'm fine. Although she felt weak all over, Yanhong still straightened her body and said firmly. That's good. Knowing Yanhong's current situation, Lin Rei didn't take it seriously since she had already said so. Then, he thought of the auction item from before and Lin Rei quickly said, by the way, can you calculate the total amount of the item that we bid here? Yanhong nodded when she heard Lin Rei change the topic. Then, she looked at Biyao, who was standing by the stairs in the distance, and nodded. Suddenly, Biyao, who was standing by the stairs, moved. His figure flashed and appeared on the auction stage. Lin Rei was stunned when he saw Biyao's figure. Then, he nodded. This person wants to pay the bill. Calculate how many divine crystals he should pay. Yanhong looked at Biyao and said. Yes. Biyao replied. Then, he closed his eyes and started to calculate. Lin Rei glanced at the shocked crowd below. Looking at them, Lin Rei smiled and didn't pay much attention to them. Lin Rei didn't have the impulse to attack them. Since he wanted to intimidate them, he had to pick a tough one. That way, he could kill the chicken to warn the monkey. Otherwise, everything would be in vain, and he wouldn't be able to achieve the result he wanted. Oh, Lin Rei, from the Xuanzong Sect. At this time, Lu Feng, who was in the room on the third floor, came to his senses. He looked at Lin Rei with a face full of surprise. No wonder I've never heard of your name despite your powerful cultivation. It turns out that you're from the Xuanzong Sect. Uncle, the Xuanzong Sect, alas. The world has changed. The Xuanzong Sect has naturally become an unparalleled existence in the realm of the gods. Our heavenly spring palace shouldn't do those useless things. Hearing his nephew's words, Lu Feng hurriedly replied. Xuanzong Sect, TSK. I really want to see what kind of sect you are. You're so powerful. After saying that, the room fell into silence. The situation was the same in all the rooms on the second and third floors. However, some people had different opinions. Some didn't want to fight, but some were still eager to try. They wanted to rush up to the Xuanzong Sect and start a massacre to prove their strength. However, Lin Rei didn't know about this, and he didn't want to know. At this moment, he only cared about how much money he had to spend. Biyao, who had fallen into silence, listened for a long time before waking up. Seeing that he had to open his eyes, he was stunned and couldn't help but become serious. In a while, you'll be bidding for 24 items, and you'll spend a total of 654. 2 million. In order for you to return to our Biyao trading company, we've erased 200,000 from the price. You only need to pay a total of 654. 4 million. 600 million. Pain, heart-wrenching pain. At this moment, Lin Rei's heart was bleeding, and it was the kind that couldn't be stopped. According to the conversion rate of 1 to 100, Lin Rei should have to pay more than 6 million high-grade divine crystals for Lin Rei. This, thinking about how the divine crystals he had worked so hard and diligently to dig up were wasted on such useless things, Lin Rei's heart ached. Time paused for a moment. Lin Rei's consciousness moved, and he entered the system. He took out more than 6 million high-grade divine crystals and put them into an empty storage ring. Here, this is. Now, 6,540,000 high-grade divine crystals should be enough. Enough. Of course it's enough. Looking at the ring before him, Biyao chuckled. Then, he extended his hand to receive the ring and placed it on his chest. Seeing Biyao's action, Lin Rei was startled. He smiled bitterly and then turned around and walked over to Xia Tianchen. At this moment, Xia Tianchen had naturally returned to the stage. His injuries from before had completely disappeared. Other than his clothes being a bit tattered and his hair being disheveled, all the other discomfort from before had disappeared. Well then, let's go. I'll tidy you up properly when we return to the sect. After saying that, he turned around and walked toward the exit. As for Xia Tianchen, Jia Yang hurriedly went to his side. Stretching out his hand, a terrifying amount of energy appeared, forming into an energy barrier that covered Xia Tianchen. And then, dragging Xia Tianchen, he chased closely behind Lin Li. Seeing Lin Rei's departure, the crowd subconsciously opened up a path for Lin Rei and the other two to leave. Sigh. Biyao, who still wanted to say something, gave up when he saw that Lin Rei had already disappeared. At the moment when Lin Rei disappeared from the White Yuan Trading Company, the crowd burst into an uproar. Those who did not dare to speak earlier all began to speak at this moment. Their voices were so loud that Biyao and Xia Tianchen were stunned. Xuanzong Sect. They're actually from the Xuanzong Sect. No wonder. No wonder they're so powerful. That's right. The Xuanzong sect. That's one of the sects that even the divine realm wants to join. However, they don't accept disciples. Otherwise, that's right. TSK. I wonder what position that person from earlier has in the sect. As an archgod, his position shouldn't be low, right? Lin Rei was unable to hear those discussions. If he were to hear them, he would definitely laugh. What position? Heh, what a joke. I'm the founder of the Xuanzong sect. On the street, after leaving the White Yuan Trading Company, Lin Rei brought Jia Yang and Xia Tianchen with him and walked on the street. The three of them did not admire the scenery. Instead, they walked 100 meters with each step toward the restaurant where Xia Feng and the others were. Along the way, none of the three spoke. As for Xia Tianchen, he was also enveloped by an energy barrier. He sat there obediently and did not speak. Not long after, the three of them arrived at the restaurant. After all, they had already finished their business. How could Xia Tianchen not be anxious? Let's go. Once we enter, we'll call them. It's time for us to leave for the Xuanzong sect. Amen. Jia Yang nodded. He followed Lin Rei and entered the residence in the backyard. Xia Tianchen instantly released his divine sense and instantly found the residence of Xia Feng and the others. With a thought, he brought Jia Yang and Xia Tianchen and arrived in front of Xia Feng's door in a flash. Jia. Lin Rei and the others arrived in front of Xia Feng's door. Just as Lin Rei was about to knock on the door opened and a voice filled with annoyance came from the door. Stinking brat, you're really something. You didn't even call me when you went out, right? Hearing that voice, Lin Rei was stunned. He smiled bitterly in his heart. Following that, the door opened and Xia Feng's figure was completely exposed in front of Lin Rei's eyes. Speak. Where did you go to play? Why did you bring someone back? Xia Feng couldn't help but glance at Xia Tianchen who was floating in the air. This. Hearing that question, Lin Rei nodded. We'll talk about this later. Pack up, we're going home. Go home. The moment Lin Rei said this word, Xia Feng's body trembled and her eyes were filled with complicated feelings. Go home, hurry up. I'll go find them. Saying that, he ignored Xia Feng. At the same time, in order to make Xia Feng forget about him going out without her, he turned around and rushed into the distance. Looking at Lin Rei's back, Xia Feng revealed a happy smile. Go home. Saying that, she turned around and went into the room to pack up. Since Lin Rei said the word go home, Xia Feng's face was always full of smiles. Similarly, elsewhere, Pai Xiao and Ba Bao were also the same. Letting them pack up and gather at the door, the three of them moved very quickly. In a few minutes, everyone arrived at the door of the restaurant. At this moment, at the door of the restaurant, looking at the three of them, Lin Rei smiled and nodded. Well, since that's the case, then let's go home. Hearing this, everyone nodded heavily and their eyes were filled with happiness and excitement. Whoosh! After saying this, everyone shot into the sky and followed Lin Rei towards Heavenly Dragon Mountain. They were incredibly fast, and in the blink of an eye, they traveled 10,000 meters. The Xuanzong Sect cemetery was located on Tianlong Mountain. The young man came to the entrance of the cemetery but did not enter. Instead, he stood outside the door and shouted, Ling, Father has come to see you. 1 minute later, with a zhiya sound, the cemetery's gate was opened. A woman wearing plain clothes appeared, but even so, it couldn't hide her refined temperament and her beautiful face. The moment he saw the woman, the young man at the door smiled guiltily. Son, I've let you down. I still haven't found your grandfather's whereabouts. But don't worry, I'll send more people. At this moment, the middle-aged man who spoke was none other than the sect leader of the Xuanzong sect, Lin Rei. And the grandfather he spoke of was none other than his father, the founder of the Xuanzong sect, Lin Rei. At this moment, the woman in the cemetery was also Lin Yun's daughter, Lin Rei's granddaughter. Chapter 820. Looking at her anxious father, Lin Ling smiled and shrugged. Father, you don't have to be so anxious. In fact, I now understand why grandfather wants me to guard the cemetery here. Oh. Why? Hearing his daughter's words, Lin Yun was stunned and then asked. To be honest, in his opinion, guarding the cemetery was a kind of punishment. It was like facing the wall and not coming out for thousands of years. How could a little girl like her endure this? How could a little girl guard the cemetery all the time? Lin Yun was angry about his father's decision, but he didn't dare to say anything. No, he didn't even dare to be angry. He could only mutter a few words in his heart. Actually, I'm not just guarding the cemetery here. In my spare time, I can also comprehend the cultivation techniques, battle techniques, and spells that Master taught me. Moreover, I'm very happy. There's no trace of unhappiness. Lin Ling instantly released her cultivation. A terrifying energy burst out and rushed toward her father, who was standing in front of her. She had already broken through to the immortal emperor realm. She believed that she would be able to break through to the immortal venerable realm soon. If this was the outside world, I don't think I would be able to cultivate so quickly. Hiss, feeling the cultivation of an immortal emperor, Lin Yun was stunned. His face was full of horror. An immortal emperor only took 100 years. Back then, thinking of this, Lin Yun didn't dare to think further. However, even so, he still didn't want his daughter to live such a life. He would rather his daughter live a happy childhood. But seeing his daughter so happy, Lin Yun sighed. All right, as long as you're happy. However, I still have to send people to look for your grandfather. After all, he has left home for 100 years. It's time to go home and see him. Hearing this, Lin Ling was stunned and then smiled bitterly. Okay, take this. This is some food that your mother made in her spare time. I just don't know if it's to your liking. Suddenly, Lin Yun took out some cooked meat and some fruits from his storage ring and handed them to Lin Ling. Looking at these, she couldn't help but smile and her eyes couldn't help but moisten. He had been away from his mother for 100 years now. Back when he had been cultivating outside, he had still been able to see her frequently. But now, no one was allowed to enter this place other than his father. No one in the sect could break this rule because it was set by Lin Rei. All right. Looking at his daughter's moist eyes, Lin Yun hurriedly waved his hand and forcefully suppressed his emotions. He then advised, don't be like this. After a while, when your grandfather returns, I'll beg him to let you out. At that time, you'll be able to see your mother. Yes. Lin Ling could only nod. After all, she didn't dare to leave. She didn't dare to disobey her grandfather. Just like that, the two chatted for a while before Lin Yun left the cemetery. Lin Ling returned to the cemetery with the love of her parents. Bang! The gate was closed once more and the cemetery fell into silence once more. However, at this moment, thousands of miles away from Sky Dragon Mountain, a group of people flew quickly. Their figures were like shooting stars, instantly crossing the sky and disappearing in the blink of an eye. Hee, are you feeling excited? At this moment, a woman in red clothes looked at the young man in the lead and smiled as she spoke. Yes. Of course, the older you get, the more you know how to cherish it. Looking at the woman in red, the young man couldn't help but sigh. Hearing the young man's words, the woman in red was stunned. The woman in red was stunned. She really wanted to punch him in the face when she heard him say that the older she got, the more she cherished it. At this moment, if Lin Yun were here, he would definitely recognize that the person in the lead was none other than his father, Lin Rei, whom he had been painstakingly searching for. Sigh. We're home. Yun, how are you? Looking in the direction of Sky Dragon Mountain, Lin Rei muttered in his heart. Whoosh, thinking of this, he sped up again. Regarding this, the group behind him could be said to be miserable. Sky Dragon Mountain, Xuanzong Sect's conference hall. Lin Yun returned to the hall after leaving Sky Dragon Mountain. At this moment, below him, Bai Qi, Dian Wei, and the others were standing respectfully without saying a word. However, the atmosphere was very strange and oppressive. Sigh. Uncle Bai, where do you think my father is? Why is he always so busy? Why doesn't he send a letter or a message home? In the end, Lin Yun broke the oppressive atmosphere. Hearing Lin Yun's words, Bai Qi suddenly lifted his head and said, "Sigh. Sect Master, you have to understand the young master. It's not easy for him." As he spoke, he revealed a pained expression. Speaking of Lin Rei, Bai Qi had followed Lin Rei since he was young. He knew all about Lin Rei's hardships. Looking at Lin Yun, who was sitting on the Sect Master's seat, Bai Qi said, "Back then, in order to stand in this world where the strong preyed on the weak, young master constantly risked his life and didn't dare to rest for a moment. He wanted to give you and your brothers a stable home, a home that could protect you. After so many years of hard work, he did it. However, there are still many uncertainties ahead. He wants to become stronger and become the strongest. Only then can you be stable for the rest of your lives." Hearing Bai Qi's words, Lin Yun's eyes became moist. In fact, Lin Yun knew what Bai Qi was saying. However, he had rarely seen his father since he was young, so, Suddenly, seeing the sadness in the eyes of the Sect Master, Bai Qi was stunned. He looked in the direction of the sect and a strange expression flashed through his face. Was it a misconception? Why did I feel the young master's aura? It turned out that just a moment ago, an aura that Bai Qi was familiar with had suddenly appeared. At this moment, Lin Rei and the rest had finally arrived at the entrance of the Xuanzong sect. Standing in front of the sect gate and looking at the familiar scene, a smile appeared on his face. It was a relaxed smile. It was probably only here that he could be so relaxed. After all, this was his home, his harbor. Looking at the sect gate, Lin Rei smiled and said to Xia Feng, who was beside him, "Xia Feng, I will go and see my disciples in a while. As for them, you can bring them to the secret territory first." "Oh, right. My granddaughter is still in the cemetery. If you want to see her, bring her out." "You brat." Although she was unhappy with Lin Rei's order, seeing the relaxed smile on Lin Rei's face, she felt relieved. In the end, she nodded. "Okay, go quickly." Seeing that Xia Feng had agreed, Lin Rei nodded and stretched out his hand. A huge suction force rushed out and aimed at Xia Tianxin, who was above Jia Yang's head. In an instant, Xia Tianxin, who had nothing to do, suddenly felt a huge suction force and his body uncontrollably rushed in front of Lin Rei. "Let's go and see your senior brothers and senior sisters." After saying that, he waved his hand at everyone and brought Xia Tianxin with him. They disappeared from the spot and rushed towards the sect gate. Seeing that Lin Rei's figure disappeared, Xia Feng was stunned. She then looked at Pai Xiu, Ba Bao Bao and Jia Yang and shrugged helplessly. "He's just like that. Okay, since he has something to do, then follow me." After saying that, she didn't wait for anyone to respond and went into the sect gate first. To be honest, she was also very anxious. She was looking forward to her disciple and herself. She was looking forward to her current strength and whether she had mastered her phoenix dance of the ninth heaven. Sigh. Seeing evil phoenix like this, Pai Xiu and the others smiled bitterly. They then circulated their cultivation and followed. At this moment, in the main hall, Bai Qi, who had closed his eyes and carefully sensed the familiar aura, was stunned for a moment before his face was filled with ecstasy. "No, it's the sect master. It's the young master. The young master is back," he muttered in his heart. Then, he seemed to have forgotten where he was and ignored Lin Yun, who was sitting at the top. He turned around and instantly rushed out with his cultivation. He was so fast that Lin Yun didn't even have time to react before Bai Qi had already disappeared in front of him. Lin Yun was confused about that. At this moment, not only Bai Qi but also Dian Wei. The moment Bai Qi rushed out, Dian Wei also rushed out. Then, Ying and Bing, in the secret realm also rushed out. At this moment, all the generals summoned by Lin Rei sensed Lin Rei entering the Xuanzong Sect's gate and rushed towards Lin Rei's direction. One had to know that there were more than a dozen peak ultimate gods. This force could destroy all existences in the divine world. In front of the Azure Dragon Hall's gate, Lin Rei brought Xia Tianchen to the gate and listened. Looking at the Azure Dragon Hall, Lin Rei's face was filled with nostalgia. Little guys, I haven't seen you for 100 years. I wonder if your cultivation has made any progress. Then, his smile disappeared in an instant. Hee, if there's no progress, you'll be in trouble. Xia Tianchen, who was following beside him, was very glad to have a good master like Lin Rei when he heard the first sentence. However, when he heard the second sentence, Xia Tianchen was stunned on the spot and his face was filled with shock. Jia. He took a step forward and reached out to open the gate. At this moment, in the palace, 5 men and women were sitting together, laughing and playing. Sure enough, they were unaware that their doomsday had come. Lin Rei opened the gate and saw that his disciples were indeed unaware and were still playing happily. He was stunned for a moment and his face was filled with interest. Then, he suppressed his cultivation and went to the side of one of his disciples, Qiao Yuan. Qiao Yuan and the others were indeed unaware. They did not know that their master, Lin Rei, had come behind them and was paying close attention to their every move. Hey, what do you think our master is doing now? At this moment, one of the men spoke. Shoo, don't talk about him behind his back. At this moment, a woman quickly stopped him. Lin Rei, who was standing behind them, felt comforted. However, the woman's next words made Lin Rei speechless. Although our master is not here now, we can't be presumptuous. However, I hope that he can come back soon so that we can play for a while more. Hypocrite. When the woman said that, everyone looked at her. In response, the woman blushed and lowered her head without saying anything. Sigh. Looking at his 5 disciples, in the end, Linley decided not to hide anything. He didn't want to lose face in front of his new disciples. In addition, he didn't know what these people would say if he continued to listen. Ah. Although the sigh was not very loud, everyone here was strong. Hearing the sigh, the first to react was the woman who had just spoken ill of Lin Rei. Hearing the sigh, the woman looked up and saw her dearest master. Suddenly, the woman screamed and lowered her head, realizing her mistake. Everyone was stunned by Nu Yi's scream and strange behavior. They immediately turned their heads to look. The next moment, everyone was stunned on the spot. Seeing their reaction, Lin Rei sighed slightly and said sadly, I didn't expect that I would fail as a master. With that, Lin Rei pretended to cry and clutched his chest as if his heart was aching. I came to see you as soon as I came back. I didn't expect that you would. With that, Lin Rei led Xia Tianchen toward the palace. However, his divine sense was locked onto Lin Wanyu and the other disciples. Master, at this time, the first to recover was the eldest disciple, Lin Rei's most beloved disciple. Startled awake, Lin Wanyu stared at Linley's departing figure. Her nose stung, and she couldn't stop the tears from flowing down her cheeks. Rising to her feet, she used her cultivation base to teleport over to Linley. Plop. Without saying anything, she arrived in front of Lin Rei and knelt on the ground. Seeing this, Lin Rei was stunned. He was just joking. Now, things were getting out of hand. Looking at the eldest disciple kneeling on the ground, Lin Rei quickly stepped forward and helped her up. He said lovingly, Silly child, why are you crying? It's not easy for me to come back. Come, smile. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Just a moment ago, she looked sad, but now, Lin Rei helped Lin Wanyu up, and the other 4 followed her and knelt on the ground. Lin Rei was speechless. Looking at them, Lin Rei felt helpless. Lin Rei doted on them. Although he didn't come back often, he had watched them grow up. Get up. With a wave of his hand, a huge amount of energy rushed out and lifted the four up. Looking at them, Lin Rei was speechless. You guys are really great. You don't learn the good things, but learn the bad things. Saying this, he looked at Lin Wanyu. Looking at her, Lin Rei smiled. You really can't do anything about it. Saying this, he turned around and walked toward his seat. As he walked, he didn't forget to tease his fourth disciple, Lin Yuro. Little four, you're really good. I hope Master will come back soon. That way, you can play a little longer. You're so special when you see Master. Lin Yuro didn't know what to say. She wanted to explain herself. I'm not. Chapter 8:21. PFFF. While Lin Yuro was frantically trying to explain, a voice rang out from the side. Lin Wanyu, who was by Lin Li's side, laughed. She laughed very happily. Everyone was stunned at this. However, only Lin Rei looked at her with a reproachful expression. You little girl, I haven't seen you for such a long time, and now that I'm back, you're trying to undermine me. From Lin Li's words, even someone with a bad brain would know what he was talking about. Everyone sighed at this. A smile of relief appeared on Lin Yuro and the others' faces. As long as Lin Li didn't blame them, they would already be thanking the heavens and the earth. Phew, everyone let out a long sigh of relief. Their faces were unspeakably relaxed. Looking at the changes in his disciples' expressions, he smiled and glared at Lin Wanyu. Then, he pointed at Xia Tianchen and explained, Come, let me introduce you to someone. Huh? Hearing this, everyone stepped forward and gathered together. They looked at the person that Lin Rei was pointing at and were puzzled. Master, don't tell me you found us another junior. At this moment, Lin Wanyu curiously thought of something and asked. Silence. Lin Rei could only use silence to replace his thoughts. He originally wanted to sell a case, but it was ruined by his eldest disciple. Looking at their master's silence, everyone was stunned. Then, they understood and gave Lin Wanyu a thumbs up. Senior brothers and sisters, I'm Xia Tianchen. Master, thank you for not abandoning me. Please take care of me in the future. At this moment, Xia Tianchen quickly said. Lin Rei nodded at Xia Tianchen's quick-wittedness. Yes, the few of you will be busy in the future. Not only do you have to complete the tasks I give you every day, but you also have to teach your junior combat skills, spells, and what you're good at. Of course, no one will be taught. After all, don't bite off more than you can chew. Tianchen is still an ordinary person, so, understood, master. Without waiting for Lin Rei to finish, Lin Wanyu came to Xia Tianchen's side and looked at her junior with a kind smile. Leave the matter of junior brother to us. We promise that we will teach him well. We will definitely not let him lose face for master. Lin Wanyu promised. Yes. Master. At this time, the second disciple, estranged distance, also laughed, looking like a senior brother. We promise to teach junior brother, well, teach him well, and make him a powerhouse. Yes. Master, don't you know what we're capable to do? Lin Xianyuan stood out and patted Xia Tianchen, and said kindly, leave the matter of juniors matter to us. Do your. Seeing how enthusiastic his disciples were, Lin Li couldn't help but laugh. Actually, how could Lin Li not understand what they were thinking? Weren't they hoping that he wouldn't give them the devil training? But, it was a pity that they were wrong. Looking at his disciples, Lin Li chuckled and nodded repeatedly, a gratified look on his face. Not bad. With disciples like this, what more could a man ask for? As he spoke, Lin Li looked as though he had made up his mind about something. He said, Since you are all working so hard, your master has decided that in the following period of time, I will personally supervise you and give you a demonic training program, allowing you to break through in the shortest amount of time possible. This way, you will be able to prove what you said earlier. When you go out, you won't embarrass your master. In that moment, as soon as Linley's words left his mouth, the smiles on the faces of those people instantly vanished. Instead, they were replaced with looks of helplessness, depression, and reluctance. Looking at them, Lin Rei laughed in his heart. However, as a master, he couldn't laugh out loud. Therefore, at this moment, Lin Rei felt really uncomfortable. All of a sudden, an enormous aura arrived. Sensing it, Lin Rei was taken aback. Then, his vigilance disappeared and he revealed a smile. I didn't expect to be discovered by them so soon after I came back. It seems that I'm still not strong enough. At this moment, Lin Rei lamented. Lin Rei was very familiar with the enormous auras. Among them were his two wives, Ying and Bing. As for the rest, even if he knew that Ying and Bing were here, how could Bai Qi, Dian Wei, Ming, and Tianyan not discover them? Master, mistress, and the others are here. At this moment, Lin Wanyu sensed the auras. Her expression froze. She stopped laughing and became serious. Okay. Seeing the change in Lin Wanyu, Linley nodded. Enough. Take Tianchen with you and leave. Tomorrow, your master will personally come find you. Make your preparations. When the time comes, be prepared to receive your master's torture, training. Hearing that, the others changed their expressions. They wanted to say something, but they knew that their master wouldn't change his mind easily. Besides, this was for their own good. In the end, they nodded helplessly and bowed. In that case, master, we'll leave you alone. Okay, go ahead. Glancing at the disciples, Lin Rei waved his hand and asked them to leave. He was still sitting there, waiting for them to arrive. Ying, Bing, I wonder if you're all right. The palace was empty except for Lin Rei. Thinking of his two wives, Lin Rei couldn't help but miss them. While Lin Rei was daydreaming, a voice came from outside the door. Your subordinates Bai Qi, Dian Wei, Honglian, Tianyun, Ming, Bing, Kagang, Zhang Kue, and Ying, welcome back, young master. We're here to see you. You're finally here. Hearing that voice, the corners of his mouth curled up into a nostalgic smile. Then he said, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Come in. Yes. Hearing Linley's agreement, a hint of a smile appeared on everyone's faces. They then strode forward, entering the palace. How are you? His gaze was fixed on the door. Looking at the people who had just entered, especially his two wives, Linley spoke out in concern. Reporting to the young master, we are still the same as before. Everyone stood in front of Linley, their faces filled with respect as they nodded in response. It's just that our cultivation has skyrocketed. Bai Qi, who was the leader, said. Well, you don't have to worry about that. Lin Rei certainly wouldn't answer Bai Qi's question. After all, he couldn't say that they were all summoned by him. Then he looked at Ying and Bing and waved at them. Come here. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Why are you so distant? Oh, seeing Lin Rei's signal, Ying and Bing smiled and nodded. They obediently walked out of the crowd and came to Lin Rei's side. At this moment, Ying looked at her husband, who had disappeared for 100 years, and her eyes were filled with resentment. She didn't care about the people below and acted like an ordinary couple. After waiting for so long, her aura had become resentful. Now that her husband had returned, the resentment in her heart exploded. You still know to come back? For some reason, Linley was stunned. Just now, his face had been all smiles. Why had it changed so suddenly? He wanted to shut his mouth, but was afraid of angering the aura. In the end, he chose to remain silent. Every time you go out, it's for so long, and you don't take us with you. Do you know how long we've been waiting for you? As she spoke, tears welled up in Shadow's eyes. Her eyes were filled with grief as she looked at Linley. Cultivator, do you know what will happen to the two of us in 100 years? Maybe we won't even see you before we're buried. Sister Ing is right. You're so cruel. At this moment, Bing agreed. She was completely different from her usual cold personality. In this regard, the people below looked at the scene in front of them. Looking at the godlike young master, who was actually a henpecked husband, they couldn't help but want to laugh. But how could they dare? In order to prevent themselves from laughing, they decisively closed their eyes and turned around. As the saying goes, out of sight, out of mind. Lin Rei was stunned by their actions. Then, he smiled and reached out his hands. As fast as lightning, he grabbed his two wives by their waists and pulled them into his arms. This sudden turn of events caused the shadow children to scream. Their screams were so loud that even Linley felt a bit uncomfortable. Sigh. Looking at the change in his children, Lin Rei let out a long sigh. His face was full of guilt. It's been hard on you. If it was an ordinary person, maybe it wouldn't be like what you said. Lin Rei's words made Ing and Bing fall into silence. They were just saying it. But now, they regretted it. Brother Lei, I know what you want to say. Before they could finish, Lin Rei interrupted them. I didn't think about it carefully. Don't worry, it won't happen again. This time, I came back to take you away. Really? At this moment, when they heard their husbands say that, they were shocked. Wasn't this what they were looking forward to? Looking at the surprise on their faces, Lin Rei smiled. After this matter is settled, we'll go to the inner layer of the heavenly realm. At that time, the three of us will live together. At that time. As he said that, Lin Rei, who was originally serious, revealed a trace of happiness on his face. His eyes even looked at the two women's breasts. Hooligan. Facing their husband's fiery gaze, Ing and Bing panicked. However, they couldn't help but feel happy. After all, they had the right to do so. Looking at the two women, Lin Rei was stunned. Then, he said, all right, let's talk about this later. This time, I came back mainly to settle everything. Also, we didn't solve some hidden problems for our descendants. After all, we'll all be promoted in the future. I don't want those hidden problems to come out and cause trouble after I'm promoted. Hearing this, the two women nodded in agreement and said seriously, yes. We thought about this before, but we didn't dare to do it because of your order. That's why. Oh. Hearing this, Lin Rei was shocked. However, after thinking about it, it made sense. After all, those people besieged the Xuanzong sect. Alright, this matter must be solved as soon as possible. After saying that, Lin Rei let go of the two women's hands. The two women naturally understood Lin Rei's intention. They stood up, tidied up their messy clothes, and stood to the side without saying a word. All of you, turn around. I have something for you to do. At this moment, Lin Rei looked at everyone and said telepathically. Hua hua. Hearing Lin Rei's telepathic message, everyone turned around, activated their five senses, bowed, and did not say a word. Bai Qi, take a few people and go to the Qingkuan sect. Leave no one alive. Destroy the sect. Yes, sir. Bai Qi, who was waiting for orders, nodded and replied. Kue Gang, take a few people and go there. Give those so-called top forces a shock. Let them know who's in charge in the realm of the gods. If anyone resists, kill them without mercy. Lin Rei said. Yes, sir. Kue Gang replied. Alright, the rest of you who don't have any missions will stay in the sect and try your best to nurture the sect's disciples. Try your best to let them reach the ultimate god realm within 500 years. I will send you the required elixirs regularly, I understand. Hearing this, the remaining people nodded in agreement. Yes, sir. We understand. We will not disappoint you. Good. Seeing that everyone had something to do, he nodded and waved his hand to dismiss them. Go, let's get this done quickly. Whoosh! In an instant, everyone who received Lin Rei's order left the palace and rushed to various places in the realm of the gods. In an instant, the lively palace became silent. At this moment, Lin Rei was not idle. When he thought of the three corpses of heaven, earth, and man in the system, he moved the three of them out of the system. Yes. At this moment, the three corpses appeared and looked at the changes in the illusion. They were confused for a moment. However, when they saw Lin Rei sitting in the main seat, they immediately understood what was going on. The three corpses greet the young master. Thank you for fulfilling your promise and successfully bringing us out of the ancient corpse trove. The three of us will work hard for the young master from now on. At this moment, the leading heavenly corpse sensed the surroundings. He knew that this was no longer the ancient corpse trove. Regarding this, he naturally had to abide by the oath he had sworn. From now on, he would treat Lin Li wholeheartedly. Yes, hearing this, Lin Rei nodded. All right, you don't have to be so restrained. This is my sect, the Xuanzong sect. From now on, you will stay here. As for you, Gu Feng, you will follow me. The rest of you will wait here until you reach the peak ultimate god realm. Then, you can go to the inner layer of the realm of the gods, 9th state, to look for me. Yes, we accept your orders. Although the three corpses were not willing to accept Lin Rei's arrangement, they did not dare to disobey. Chapter 822. All right. Nodding his head, Lin Rei looked at Ying and said, bring them to an empty palace and inform Yun, or that these three will be our Xuanzong sect's guest elders from now on. Don't disturb them. They will only appear when the sect is in trouble. Hearing these words, Shadow walked over to Lin Li and bowed respectfully. Yes. Lin Rei was stunned by Ying's action. He smiled and didn't say anything. He understood what Ying meant. Go. He waved his hand and asked Ying to bring Gu Feng and the other two out. At this moment, only Lin Rei and Bing were left in the palace. In the silent space, neither of them spoke. Time seemed to have stopped. Beside them, she continued to press down on Lin Li. Her eyes were filled with tenderness. It was as if she felt that as long as she could stay like this, as long as she quietly looked at Lin Li, she would be satisfied. Time passed, bit by bit. After an indeterminable amount of time, Lin Li finally spoke, breaking the silence. Turning his head, his eyes met Bing's. Lin Rei smiled and said, let's go. Let's go for a walk, all right. As Lin Rei's subordinate, she couldn't go against Lin Rei's words. As his wife, this was exactly what she wanted. Therefore, Bing didn't refuse. Let's go. Rising to his feet, he reached out and grabbed Ice's hand. As soon as he touched it, he felt a cold sensation. It was as though Ice was a block of ice, but Lin Li didn't mind. He knew that this was because of the technique Ice was training in. Holding Bing's hand, they left the palace. They didn't leave but wandered around the Azure Dragon Palace. Although it was only a palace, it was extremely huge. One had to know that every palace here was situated on a mountain peak. The two of them walked side by side, holding hands and waving. The sun shone on their faces, and their shadows were reflected on the ground. At this moment, the two of them were like newlyweds, and the scene was very warm and romantic. Seeing that his wife didn't say anything, Lin Rei was stunned for a moment. Then, he said, how have you been? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? No. Hearing Lin Rei's words, Bing snapped back to reality and quickly responded. Life here is very good. It's just that, it's a little lonely when you're not here. If only I could always be by your side. With that, Bing leaned his body and leaned his head on Lin Rei's shoulder. Lin Rei was stunned by Bing's action. His heart was filled with guilt. This scene made him think of the time when he was with Jean Ling. At that time, Jean Ling was only waiting. It was also because she was waiting that she couldn't see the end of her life until she died. For a moment, thinking of this, Lin Rei was stunned. Tears welled up in his eyes. For Jean Ling, this was the pain of Lin Rei's life. At the side, she felt Lin Li's strange coldness and was stunned for a moment. Then, she knew what was going on. She knew about what happened back then and she was very happy with Jean Ling. After all, she was such a gentle person. Sigh. Bing let out a long sigh and suppressed the pain in his heart. Don't worry. This time, I will bring you guys along. After all, I probably won't come back this time. What? At this moment, Bing was shocked. She didn't expect that Lin Rei wouldn't come back this time. How could she not be shocked? At the same time, she was glad that she fought for it this time. Otherwise, you didn't hear wrong. After this time, after we go out, we will be in the inner layer of the divine world. Also known as the 9th region. After settling some matters there, we will live there. Boom, as he said that, a terrifying and violent energy suddenly rushed out. He raised his hand and clenched his fist to feel the energy in his body. As you can see, I am now at the peak of the middle ultimate god realm. If nothing goes wrong, I will be promoted to the holy world in a few hundred years. At that time, you will have to follow me. As he said that, Lin Rei retracted his cultivation and held Bing's hand even tighter as if he was afraid of losing her. So, from now on, I will be in a state of cultivation. I hope to enter the holy world as soon as possible. I understand. Bing nodded when she heard that. She wasn't very interested in whether she would stay here or not. After all, she was here to wait for Lin Rei's return. If Lin Rei didn't come back, then there was no point for her to stay here. Alright, let's not talk about this first. Look, what did I buy for you? Lin Rei didn't want to dwell on this matter. Immediately, he changed the topic and attracted Bing's attention to the gift he brought back this time. With a thought, he took out the quasi-holy tool robe that he had obtained from the auction from his storage ring. Boom, as soon as the robe appeared, a purple light instantly shot up to the sky. A huge pressure instantly rushed out with Lin Rei and Bing as the center and rushed out in all directions. At this moment, Bing's gaze fell on the robe in Lin Rei's hand. Bing's eyes were filled with surprise and curiosity when she looked at the robe. This is for me? As a peak ultimate god, she only knew about the quasi-divine realm. She had never seen such a treasure before. She was stunned for a moment when she saw that it was for her. Oh, of course, who else should I give it to if not you? Looking at his wife's stunned face, Lin Rei felt that it was funny for a moment. In his heart, this item was just a robe. As long as Bing wanted it and Lin Rei wanted to refine it, he could have as many as he wanted. Take it, this is for you. As he spoke, he passed it to Bing. Drip your blood on it and let me see if it looks good on you. Hearing this, Bing blushed and nodded. She then bit her finger and dripped a drop of blood on the robe. Suddenly, purple light shone brightly and instantly shot up to the sky. However, in an instant, the purple light was restrained and the robe's true appearance was revealed in front of Bing. Looking at the purple robe, Bing was overjoyed, especially since it was given to her by Lin Rei. She endured the blood dripping. After connecting with the robe, with a thought, the robe appeared on her body in an instant. After putting on the robe, at that moment, Bing seemed to have turned into a Xixia fairy. Her whole body was emitting a purple light. Coupled with her fresh and refined temperament, Lin Rei could not wait to kiss her. How is it? Is the robe okay? At this moment, Lin Rei resisted the urge to kiss her and asked. Yes, I like everything my husband gives me. Bing, who was in a state of excitement, nodded repeatedly when she heard this. She liked the robe very much. Well, as long as you like it. Hearing this, Lin Rei smiled. After all, he did not let her down. Alright, let's go. Let's go and see Wan Yu and the rest. They have a share in the items we bought this time. Moreover, we have to train them during this period. When we leave, we can bring them along. Oh. Hearing these words, Ice nodded. Right now, she was willing to go wherever Linley went. After receiving his wife's approval, Lin Rei nodded and walked towards the residence of the disciples at the back of the palace. At this moment, above an empty palace, Ying led Gu Feng and the other two to a stop in front of the palace door. There were 3 words written on the plaque above their heads: White Tiger Palace. Looking at the White Tiger Palace, Ying turned to Gu Feng and the other two and asked, for beasts, Azure Dragon, Vermilion Bird, White Tiger, and Black Tortoise. Young Master's disciples live in the Azure Dragon Palace. I wonder if the 3 of you are satisfied with the White Tiger Palace? At this moment, hearing Ying's words, everyone was stunned and immediately said, yes. Yes, we are very satisfied. Miss, you don't know where we used to live. Compared to this place is like heaven. Hearing his third brother's words, Gu Feng was stunned and rolled his eyes. Then, he turned to Ying and said awkwardly, Miss, don't misunderstand. This place is already very good. Let's do it here. Yes, let's do it here. At this moment, the Earth Corpse, who had not spoken along the way, spoke. Hearing the 3's words, Ying smiled and nodded. Okay, in that case, let's do it here. With that, she went to the edge of the cliff and activated her cultivation method. Her peak ultimate god cultivation was instantly released, and a violent energy rushed out. Hiss. Gu Feng and the other two standing behind Ying Sheng could sense the fluctuations of his cultivation base. They were shocked. Just now, Ying hadn't revealed his cultivation base, so they hadn't been able to detect it. But in their opinion, he was at most a god sovereign or god emperor. But now, at this moment, Ying's voice exploded in the Xuanzong sect's ears. Everyone of the Xuanzong sect, listen up. From now on, the White Tiger Palace has a master. Gu Feng and the other two will be the 3 guest elders of the sect. If any of you disciples offend them, you will be punished severely. At this moment, there wasn't a single person in the profound sect who didn't know about this matter. Even Lin Yun, who was the sect leader, Lin Ling, who was in the cemetery, Lin Li, Bing, and the others in the Azure Dragon Hall. Oh, this little girl really knows how to play. At this moment, Lin Rei, who was leading Bing to the residence of the disciples, heard this and could not help but smile happily. She, at the side, when she heard Ying's words, she was stunned for a moment. She wanted to say something, but Lin Rei interrupted her. It's okay. This way, Yun will know that I'm back. With that, he did not say anything else and pulled Bing into the residence of the disciples. In the White Tiger Palace, after completing all the tasks given to him by Lin Rei, he turned around, withdrew his cultivation, and said to Gu Feng and the other two, if the 3 of you need anything, feel free to tell the disciples. I'll take my leave first. Whoosh, hearing Ying's words, Gu Feng and the other two who came back to their senses wanted to say something, but Ying's figure disappeared. He's really swift and decisive. Looking at Ying's leaving figure, Gu Feng smiled bitterly. At the same time, Ying's strength made him think of the girl who followed beside Lin Rei. If she was also a peak ultimate god, then the overall strength of the entire sect would be unimaginable. Gu Feng did not dare to think about it. Big brother, how strong is this Xuanzong sect? It's just a girl, but her strength is, even more than yours. Stop talking. When he was about to say something, Gu Feng hurriedly stopped him with a serious expression. Remember, this is no longer the place where we hide the ancient corpses. Here, Lin Rei is the king and we have to obey Lin Rei's orders. As for other gossip, let's not talk about it. Hearing this, the earth corpses and the human corpses nodded in agreement. They knew that this was no longer their territory. Here, anything could happen, especially when they saw the experts beside Lin Rei. Looking at the two nodding, Gu Feng smiled and returned to his usual self. Okay, let's go and see our new home. Okay, the two of them responded. Then, the three of them stepped forward and entered the place where they were going to live. At this moment, Lin Rei brought Bing to the disciples' resting area behind the Azure Dragon Palace. At this moment, Lin Wanyu was showing Xia Tianchen, their junior brother, around to familiarize himself with the environment. Seeing that they were so harmonious, Lin Rei's face showed a trace of relief. In Lin Rei's opinion, he did not expect his disciples to become experts with great achievements. He only hoped that they could live happily and harmoniously without any internal conflicts because of some things. At this moment, Lin Xianyuan felt that someone was staring at him. He immediately turned around and happened to see Lin Rei and Bing. He immediately bowed and saluted, "Disciple greets master and mistress." At this moment, Lin Wanyu and the others, who were in front of them, heard this and their bodies suddenly trembled. They turned around and saw Lin Rei and Bing. Then, like Lin Xianyuan, they immediately bowed and saluted. "Get up, there are so many rules in private." Looking at his disciples, Lin Rei rolled his eyes and walked in front of them with Bing. Looking at them, Lin Rei opened his mouth and said, "Come, this time when I came back, I did not bring any valuable things. Take a look at these things and take whatever you like." Saying this, Lin Rei waved his hand and a dozen things appeared on the ground. They were all glowing with a multicolored light. At first glance, one could tell that they were not ordinary things. The appearance of these treasures immediately attracted everyone's attention. Looking at these things in front of them, Lin Wanyu and the others smiled. "Master." Everyone thanked him and did not move. They just looked at each other. Seeing this, Lin Rei was stunned and speechless. "That's enough. I don't know you guys. Hurry up and take them back if you don't want them." Hee, of course, I want them." Hearing her master's words, Lin Wanyu and the others laughed mischievously. They were no longer reserved and began to nitpick. When looking at something, as long as it did not look good, they would not look at it. They would even say a few words, such as "this one did not look good," or "that color was not good." Hearing this, Lin Rei was stunned. Apart from a bitter smile, there was no other expression on his face. On the other hand, Bing was smiling quite happily. After a few minutes, the 6 disciples had chosen the things they liked and began to play with them. Chapter 8:23. Seeing the smiles and fondness on their faces, Linley couldn't help but smile as well. To Linley, these disciples were like his own children. Lin Rei was satisfied to see them so happy. That was enough for him. Before they could play for long, Lin Rei interrupted them. After all, his time was limited, so, all right, take these things and play with them when you have time. I'm here to give you gifts, and also to express what I told you about the training. As soon as Linley's words came out, aside from Xia Tianchen, everyone's faces turned bitter. Their faces were filled with deep feelings of rejection. As Linley's disciples, Lin Wanyu and the others had naturally experienced the collective training that Linley spoke of. It was precisely because they had experienced it that they were even more afraid of this sort of training. Because, to them, the training that Lin Rei spoke of was like sending them to the mouth of a tiger, where they would be tortured. You don't want to. Looking at their unwilling expressions, Linley was stunned for a moment before he spoke. Linley had already known that they would react this way. After all, he knew that his training would be extremely cruel and tiring. No. Hearing those words, Lin Wanyu and the other 4 all spoke at the same time, indicating that they were wrong. Following that, the bitter smiles on their faces turned into smiles. However, this sort of smile was extremely ugly, even uglier than crying. That's good. Zhang Xian chuckled inwardly as he nodded his head. Since that's the case, I'll take my leave then. Once we're in the dungeon, I'll arrange a course for you. Perhaps, if you perform well this time, I'll consider bringing you along to an interesting place. An interesting place? When they heard their master say that, they didn't immediately respond. They were afraid that there was a trap ahead. That's right. Seeing how cautious they were, Lin Rei smiled and said, "The ninth state is the most mysterious place in your eyes. This time, I'll take you there. There are experts from sects there, hidden places, and arcane pockets. There are many novel things that can help you improve your strength." Hearing these words, everyone was startled. In their hearts, they said, as expected. They didn't even need to guess to know what Linley was talking about. This was because, in their eyes, this master of theirs had no other interests other than increasing his own power and making himself stronger. Thus, Linley was able to say something new and interesting. Other than the hidden land and the secret realm, there was nothing else. Sigh, everyone let out a long sigh. Although they didn't want to go, their instincts told them that they had to go there. Under Lin Rei's influence, they knew that they couldn't rely on anyone in this world. The only person they could rely on was themselves. After all, strength was one's own. Others couldn't follow you for a lifetime, let alone protect you for a lifetime. Let's go. Lin Rei didn't care if they were willing or not. Even though he knew that they weren't willing, he still chose to follow his own wishes. After all, he knew that he couldn't accompany these disciples for the rest of his life. When he wasn't around, they could still protect him. So, oh. Yes, Master. Everyone nodded, a look of helplessness on their faces. In the end, they agreed, then followed Linley into the pocket dimension. At this moment, everyone knew that their good days had come to an end. The days that belonged to them had arrived. The following days wouldn't be easy. In the Xuanzong Sect's conference hall, Lin Yun, who was sitting on the sect master's seat, stared blankly at the entrance of the hall. His face was filled with disbelief. At this moment, a disciple was reporting the news that Lin Rei's father, Lin Rei, had returned. Lin Yun thought that he had heard wrongly when he first heard the news. But when the disciple repeated it a second time and recalled the information that Ying had told him about Gu Feng and the other two, everything made sense. Lin Yun was still puzzled when he heard Ying's words. He didn't know about the appointment of an honorary elder. Moreover, he had never heard of Gu Feng. But now, everything made sense. Sect Master, this is what happened. The old sect master is now in the Forbidden Land, so, whoosh, the sound of something breaking through the air rang out. Hearing this sound, the first disciple who was reporting raised his head. When he looked at the sect master's throne, he was stunned because Lin Yun, who was originally sitting there, had already disappeared. The man was stunned and smiled bitterly. Sigh. Looks like there's nothing for me to do. Saying that, he shrugged and relaxed. Then, he turned around and walked out of the hall to do his own things. Behind the conference hall, the Xuanzong Sect's Forbidden Land was here. Of course, it was a forbidden land for the Xuanzong Sect's disciples. But for Lin Yun and the other direct disciples of Lin Rei, it was their home. At this moment, in front of the Forbidden Land, Lin Rei stood with Bing and his 6 disciples at the entrance. His face was filled with emotions. What's wrong? At the side, seeing Lin Rei stop, Bing went up and held Lin Rei's hand in concern. No. Nothing. Lin Yun nodded at Bing and patted her gently. He gave her a reassuring smile and stepped forward to enter. Whoosh! Suddenly, just as Lin Rei's power entered the secret territory, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Instantly, it attracted the attention of everyone in front of the secret territory. At this moment, Linley retracted his foot, and a smile appeared on his face. You're here? How could Lin Rei not know who it was? When he heard the sound of something breaking through the air, his divine sense covered a radius of 100 meters. No, the person who came through the air naturally had nowhere to hide. The person who came was none other than his son, Lin Yun. Turning around, he looked in the direction Lin Rei came from with a smile on his face. His eyes were filled with tenderness and doting. Lin Rei had always felt guilty about doting on his son, especially towards his mother, Yao, father. At this moment, Lin Yun's figure arrived and stood in front of Lin Rei. With a plop, he directly knelt on the ground, ignoring the others around him. His eyes were wet. "Father, you're finally back. I've missed you so much." As he spoke, he could no longer control his emotions. Tears welled up in his eyes and flowed down his cheeks. Lin Rei was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Yun to be like this. Sigh. When she came back to her senses, she helped Lin Yun up with a guilty expression and said, "You're already an adult. Why are you crying? You're the sect master of a sect. How can you convince others if they see you crying like this?" Hearing this, Lin Yun knew that he had lost his composure. But when he remembered that there was no one else here, he immediately let go. Looking at Lin Wanyu behind Lin Rei, Lin Yun bowed and said, "Greetings, senior brothers and senior sisters." "Yes, junior brother, crying is not a good habit." At this moment, everyone nodded. At the front, Lin Wanyu smiled and teased Lin Yun. Hearing this, Lin Yun blushed and revealed an awkward expression. He was already used to Lin Wanyu's teasing. After all, he was used to it. Hee, all right. Looking at this scene, Lin Rei smiled and interrupted, "Since you're here, let's go together. You can train with your senior brothers and senior sisters. Let's see if you've fallen behind in your cultivation after becoming the sect master." I have to train too." At this moment, hearing his father's words, Lin Yun's face instantly turned teary. Lin Wanyu and the others knew about training. Nonsense. Lin Yun glared at Lin Yun and didn't say anything else. He stepped into the secret realm. Lin Yun was stunned for a moment before helplessly following him. But even so, Lin Yun was secretly delighted. After all, although this was a bit tiring, he felt relieved when he thought about how he could spend more time with his father. Green Cloud Mountain Range, Jianghu Sect. At this moment, 6 people were flying in the sky as if they were walking. Their speed was as fast as lightning, disappearing in the blink of an eye. The 6 of them were filled with a violent aura. Wherever the 6 of them passed, no matter if it was a human, animal, or beast, they couldn't help but retreat. This was because their aura was too strong and they couldn't stand it. 100 years ago, the Jianghu sect chose to close their doors after countless disciples died. However, they didn't know that they had already offended someone they couldn't afford to offend. Furthermore, a calamity had already descended upon them. In the Supreme Harmony Hall of Jianghu Sect, there weren't many people in the hall. There were only 7 or 8 of them and they all had smiles on their faces as if they were discussing something interesting. At that moment, the middle-aged man sitting at the top looked at the people below with a smile and said, "This time, after the mountain gate opening ceremony, send people to each city to recruit disciples. This time, you must make up for what happened 100 years ago, As he spoke, he stopped abruptly. The dissatisfied smile on his face turned serious as he raised his head to look at the door. His eyes were filled with doubt. What's going on? Why do I feel a few strong auras rushing towards us? It's not a feeling. At this moment, the faces of the people below turned serious when they heard the middle-aged man's words. It's true. There are strong auras that have already reached our sect. And they don't seem to have good intentions. The moment these words were spoken, the atmosphere in the hall turned cold. They could all feel the strong auras. They weren't a match for them. None of them were a match for them. At this moment, everyone was filled with doubt. They understood why the auras were so strong towards their sect. The sect had been in seclusion for 100 years. It was impossible for anyone to offend such strong existences. However, it was true that these powerful auras had already arrived in front of their sect. Moreover, they had stopped. That powerful killing intent made their hearts tremble. Sect leader, at this moment, an elderly man with a head of white hair looked at the middle-aged man in shock. His eyes were filled with worry as he spoke to the man in the upper seat. At this moment, the man in the upper seat was none other than the sect leader of the Jianghu sect, Emperor Xian. Let's go. Although we don't know the reason, let's go out and take a look. After all, these people's auras are too strong. I'm afraid. I'm afraid that even the sect's patriarchs might not be a match for them. Sigh. Hearing this, everyone sighed and nodded helplessly. They agreed with Emperor Xian's words. Let's go. With that, Emperor Xian led everyone out of the Hall of Supreme Harmony and rushed towards the sect gate. At this moment, a group of 6 people stopped in front of the Jianghu sect. Their faces were filled with killing intent and coldness. At this moment, a middle-aged man stepped forward and said to the leader, "Bai Qi, are we going in directly? Or..." That's right. The 6 people were none other than Bai Qi and the others who had followed Lin Rei's orders to destroy the sect. The man who had spoken was none other than Dian Wei, who had been summoned together with Bai Qi. No need. There is a sect protecting array here. Besides. Then, he glanced at Dian Wei and sneered, "Don't you feel that someone is coming?" Huh? Hearing this, Dian Wei was stunned. Then, he looked inside the array and extended his divine senses. A strong aura was rushing towards them quickly. Sensing this, Dian Wei smiled. Hee, that's true. Let's wait and see. But don't fight with me later, okay? The branch of these bastards in the immortal realm dared to attack the Xuanzong sect and, they even killed Madam and young master. This revenge must be. Sigh. Looking at Dian Wei, Bai Qi sighed and nodded. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore, especially in front of young master. As for these bastards from the Jianghu sect, we know what to do even if you don't tell us. Then, the people next to him nodded at the same time. Their faces were full of hatred and murderous intent. The battle in the immortal realm was still fresh in their minds. At this moment, their murderous intent had condensed to a terrifying level. The people of the Jianghu sect who were rushing over had no idea that they were in an extremely dangerous situation. However, at this moment, not only here, but also in the outer layer of the God realm, a group of people wearing the clothes of the Xuanzong sect's elders were visiting the sects one by one. Just as Lin Rei had instructed, their purpose was to make all the sects in the God realm behave themselves. This was also to pave a safe and smooth path for Lin Yun and the others. The mastermind of the whole thing was currently guiding his disciples in the Xuanzong sect's adversity. He was living a very uncomfortable life. In the Xuanzong sect's adversity, Lin Rei was standing beside the stream, looking at the 7 people in the distance. At this moment, each of them was comprehending something. Some were refining pills, some were refining weapons, and some were sitting cross-legged with their 5 hearts facing up. They were cultivating. But there was one person who was an exception. It was none other than his eldest disciple, Lin Rei. At this moment, she was standing on the stream, facing Lin Rei. Her face was pale, her legs were trembling, and her body was bent over. She was sweating profusely as if there was a huge mountain on her back, making it hard for her to breathe. Chapter 8:24. Little you, hang in there. You'll be free in 2 more hours and will proceed to the next stage. At this moment, Linli, who was standing in front of Lin Wanyu, saw how hard she was working. 4 hours? Lin Wanyu's body sank down to a certain extent upon hearing that. Her face was filled with shock. Master, didn't you say we only have 1 hour? Why is it now? Linli rolled his eyes at her and didn't answer her directly. Kid, I'm using the pressure of an early-stage godly exalt to suppress you. You don't get something as good as this every day. Moreover, I'm preparing for the next battle techniques you'll impart to me. Just hang in there. I promise you that the battle techniques I'll impart to you this time will be very powerful. Really? Hearing this, Lin Wanyu raised her head with great difficulty and looked at her master with a questioning tone. Nonsense. Lin Rei was stunned by his disciple's words. He said angrily, Don't say such things in the future. Didn't I impart everything to you? Of course, except for those things that you can't learn. You heartless brat, your master's heart hurts when you say this. Do you know that? As he spoke, Linli pretended to clutch at his chest, as if he was in pain. However, Lin Wanyu's heart was filled with helplessness. She respected her master who was like a father to her very much, but sometimes she felt helpless too. Lin Rui waved his hand when he saw that his disciple did not respond. He continued, this matter is settled. I'll give you a specific cultivation plan. Be content. Boom, without waiting for Lin Wanyu's reply, his aura increased once again. It went from early stage ultimate god to mid-stage ultimate god's aura. Plop. A strange sound was heard just as the aura was released to suppress Lin Wanyu. She looked down and saw that Lin Wanyu, who was originally bowing, was now in close contact with her sleeping body. If it was not for her strong cultivation base, she would have been suppressed to the bottom of the lake. However, in response, Lin Wanyu was stunned. Her face was filled with annoyance. Master, what are you doing? Why did the pressure suddenly increase? She didn't pay any attention to it. She closed her eyes and waited for the time to come. And at this moment, several people on the shore saw Lin Wanyu's current state, and their faces were filled with gloating smiles. This was especially true of the fifth brother Cullen. At this moment, Curran was holding a fist-sized rock, but it looked very heavy. His face was covered in sweat, and his clothes were soaked. Even so, Kaluan didn't forget to look at Lin Wanyu, who was lying on the surface of the lake. He smiled and said, Senior sister, you're too nice. Master is too good to you. Oh. Why do you say that? Lin Xianyuan asked curiously after hearing Cullen's words. Hee hee. Cullen chuckled and said, I don't know about that. Look, we are on the shore, sweating profusely and feeling hot. But eldest senior sister is different. Although she feels uncomfortable under master's pressure, she is not hot anymore. Everyone was speechless. At this moment, Lin Wanyu, who was suppressed on the surface of the lake, seemed to be gnashing her teeth. Moreover, even Lin Rui, who had his eyes closed, opened them after hearing this. He looked at his fifth disciple with an amused smile, and in the next moment, an idea arose in his mind. He looked up at Cullen and said with a gentle smile, Is that so? Since you think your eldest senior sister's cultivation method is good, then let's do it together. I will let you all experience the benefits of your eldest senior sister. For a moment, after hearing Lin Rui's words, everyone was stunned. Lin Xianyuan and the others looked at Cullen with hidden bitterness, as if to say, See, it's all because of your nonsense. Now it's all good. At this moment, after hearing Lin Rui's words, although he was under pressure, he still revealed a smile. Humph, who asked you to say that? Serves you right. Come. Looking at his disciples, Lin Rui smiled, then raised his hand and rotated his cultivation base. Suddenly, a powerful suction force appeared, aimed at everyone except Xia Tianchen. Suddenly, Lin Xianyuan and the others felt the suction force, and their bodies uncontrollably floated toward the surface of the lake. Splash, splash, in the next moment, the sound of bodies falling into the water could be heard. Originally, Lin Wanyu was the only one on the surface of the water, but now there was a row of bodies neatly touching the surface of the lake. Looking at them, Lin Rui smiled and clapped his hands. How is it? Are you still hot? Feeling the enormous pressure, Cullen was speechless. After saying the word he felt a hand choking his throat, not allowing him to speak. Seeing that everyone was speechless, Linli sighed. He didn't say anything else, closing his eyes and sinking into silence. At this moment, Cullen, who was lying on the surface of the water, was extremely regretful. At the same time, he felt extremely guilty. He felt guilty for his slip of the tongue, he felt guilty for implicating his senior brothers and sisters, and he felt guilty for his great senior sister. However, it was too late for regrets. Now, they could only withstand the pressure of a mid-hierarch realm cultivator. Of course, their cultivation base was higher than Lin Wanyu's. When they teleported, the pressure of a mid-hierarch realm cultivator could only be described with one word: pain. It was unbearable to be suppressed by the pressure, and their bones were starting to press against each other. This was the first time they had experienced such a level of pressure. At the entrance of the Jianghu sect, Biyao and the others who were waiting finally saw the 8 people arrive and land in front of them. Looking at them, before they could say anything, Biyao spoke first. "All of you, without the Xuanzong sect disturbing you, have you been well?" "What? You're from the Xuanzong sect?" Hearing Biyao's words, the Jianghu sect's disciples' faces changed and their hearts sank. They would never forget the Xuanzong sect. After all, they had brought people to the Xuanzong sect 100 years ago, but in the end, almost all of them were annihilated. Qianlong, who led the team, was also annihilated in the end. The Jianghu sect suffered a great loss because of that. Even 2 of their supreme elders died in the battle. This image was like a nightmare to them. They were like maggots that clung to their bones, unable to free themselves. Now that they heard that the other party was from the Xuanzong sect, they were instantly alarmed. They knew that the other party did not come with good intentions from their murderous aura. Looking at the vigilant faces of the Jianghu sect, Biyao smiled. A cold smile appeared on his face. "That's enough. That war 100 years ago, you guys have basically suffered heavy losses. So, call out those old fellows from your sects who have been hiding in seclusion." Saying that, Biyao glanced at Dian Wei and smiled. "This time, we're here to annihilate your sect." Boom! Hearing this, the minds of the Jianghu sect members went blank as though they were struck by lightning. Annihilate our sect, annihilate our sect? Why? This question appeared in the minds of the 8 of them. They had never thought of annihilating a sect, let alone the Jianghu sect. Other than doubt, the only thing left was fear. After a painful lesson, they knew how terrifying and mysterious the Xuanzong sect was. At the same time, they knew that they were no match for them. Otherwise, their supreme elders would not have died in the Xuanzong sect 100 years ago. At this moment, one of the 8 people came back to his senses. With a shocked gaze, he looked at Biyao and the others and said, "Why? Why do you want to annihilate our Jianghu sect? We have not done anything to let down the Xuanzong sect or the people of the Xuanzong sect. Why do you have to be so aggressive? Why? Yeah? Why does the Xuanzong sect have to go against our Jianghu sect? We have not done anything wrong. Why do you have to?" Ha ha ha. While the Jianghu sect members were retorting, Biyao could not help but laugh out loud. "Why do you have to go against the Jianghu sect? You have not done anything wrong?" Looking at them, Biyao scolded coldly, "I'm afraid you guys do not know that the Xuanzong sect and the Jianghu sect have a blood feud. We cannot live under the same sky." Huh. Upon hearing this, the mystic, the arch, and the others were confused. What blood feud? What irreconcilable hatred? They had no idea at all. They were even more confused. How could they not know that they had offended such a powerful being? But now, hold on, senior. Since when did the Jianghu sect have a blood feud with the Xuanzong sect? The mystic emperor spoke up hurriedly. "Even if we are going to die, we should at least give the criminals a chance to explain themselves. You're making us confused like this. We're not happy about it." "Yes, we're not happy about it. We're not happy about it," angry voices could be heard. Biyao was taken aback. His face was filled with confusion. F***CK, what the F***CK are you guys playing at? We're here to annihilate your sect, not to listen to your complaints. Damn it, you're just like a woman, dilly-dallying. You guys are elders or sect masters of a sect. Can't you guys be more straightforward and release the sect protection formation? Let's have a real battle between men." Dian Wei could not help but speak up. In response to Dian Wei's words, Biyao and the mystic, the arch, rolled their eyes at him and let him experience it himself. At the same time, Biyao was anxious about Dian Wei's intelligence. He knew that they were here to annihilate the Jianghu sect, but he still wanted them to activate the Sect protection formation. Wasn't that nonsense? Ignoring Dian Wei, Bai Qi turned to the Mystic Emperor and said, "There's no need to say anything more. Die. We don't have much time left." You guys, the moment he heard these words, the Mystic Emperor knew that there was no turning back for this matter. The Mystic Emperor froze for a moment before taking out a jade letter. Crushing it, a beam of light shot out towards the depths of the Heaven and Earth Sect. Bai Qi did not stop the Mystic Emperor. Instead, his face was full of smiles. "Heh, that's good too. It saves us a lot of time." Before the Mystic Emperor and the others could react, Bai Qi reached out with his peak ultimate god cultivation base and slapped the Sect protection formation in front of him. "How dare you, Kacha!" A strange sound was suddenly transmitted into everyone's ears. They saw that a crack had appeared on the spot where Bai Qi had slapped the Sect protecting magic array. What? This? Emperor Xian's face turned solemn when he saw that. He knew the Sect's formation very well. Even a late ultimate god would not be able to crack the formation with just a slap. But now, this could only prove one thing. The strength of the person in front of him had definitely surpassed the peak ultimate god realm. He was at least a peak ultimate god or a half-saint. At this moment, the mystic Tharch truly felt the aura of death. Suddenly, the mystic Tharch saw the Grim Reaper smiling. The Grim Reaper's scythe was already on his neck. It was as though he could be taken away at any moment. "Damn it! Are you serious?" Dian Wei, who was standing aside, suddenly exclaimed when he saw Bai Qi's action. "Damn it! Old Bai, are you going easy on us?" "Huh?" Bai Qi was stunned and looked at Dian Wei in confusion. "What do you mean?" "Look at you." Looking at Bai Qi, Dian Wei stepped forward and pointed at one of the runes on the protective array. He said helplessly, "This can't be all you're capable of, can it? You could have smashed this array and killed all of them. Then, we would have gone back as soon as possible." "You." Bai Qi rolled his eyes and glanced at Dian Wei helplessly. Then, he ignored Dian Wei and slapped again. At this moment, Bai Qi increased his strength from 2 layers to 6 layers. Whoosh! As Bai Qi's slap fell, a burst of air-piercing sound was heard. The Mystic Emperor, who saw Bai Qi's reckless action, felt that this time, the Sect protection formation in front of him would. Bam! Kacha! Bai Qi's palm once again landed on the crack. This time, the crack expanded once again and began to spread out like a spider web, densely packed. How is this possible? Did he not use his full strength before? Seeing this, the Mystic Emperor was stunned, scared, and dumbfounded. He never thought that this would happen. He never thought that his Sect protection formation could not withstand 2 slaps from the enemy. Looking at the fearful Mystic Tharch and the others, Bai Qi's lips curled into a smile. Then, he raised his palm again. This time, Bai Qi used all his strength. Break! With a low roar, he activated his cultivation technique and channeled the spiritual energy into his palm. Then, he slapped down without holding back. Bam! Kacha! Kacha! The moment the palm landed, the entire Heaven and Earth Sect exploded. The Sect protecting formation that the Heaven and Earth Sect was so proud of was completely destroyed. 3 slaps. With just 3 slaps, the protective formation of their sect was shattered. To everyone in the Jianghu sect, including their seniors, this was undoubtedly a huge blow. This was a humiliation. Die. Chapter 825. As he said that, Bai Qi channeled his cultivation into his palm. The moment he smashed the protective formation of Jianghu sect, he didn't stop. He didn't use any battle techniques, nor did he use any skills to increase his strength. Bai Qi's simple and unadorned palm slapped towards the old man beside the Mystic Tharch. It was so fast that before the Mystic Tharch and the others could react, Bai Qi's palm had already arrived in front of the old man. Looking at the palm right in front of him, the old man's face changed. He was filled with fear. He could feel how terrifying this palm strike was. If he was hit hard enough, he would be severely injured, if not dead. Of course, he wanted to dodge. He was afraid that he would be hit. But he couldn't dodge the attack that was right in front of him. Seeing this, the old man's heart skipped a beat. Without caring about anything else, he raised his hands to protect his head. The head was a headache for every cultivator. That was because the head was the weakest part of the body. If he was hit, the consequences would be unimaginable. Can you dodge it? Looking at the old man's actions, Biyao was stunned. He then snorted coldly. Suddenly, he increased the strength of his palm. Bam! A strange sound rang out. At this moment, he was pushed back with a dang 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 sound. A red palm print appeared on his face, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Ugh! After retreating a dozen meters, the old man stopped his body with difficulty. He felt something strange in his mouth. He immediately spat out the strange thing in his mouth. He spat out a few teeth that were covered in blood. At this moment, his mind was buzzing. His mind went blank as pain spread through his entire body. See. This scene caused Emperor Xian and the others to suck in a breath of cold air. Their faces were filled with shock. One had to know that the old man who was pushed back was the third elder of Jianghu Sect. He was in the early stages of Hierarch realm. And right now, with just a single move, a simple slap without any battle techniques or spells, he was able to force the Jianghu Sect back. Furthermore, he was injured to such an extent. At this moment, all of them knew that the Jianghu Sect was in grave danger. Ha! Top Sect, Jianghu Sect. With a cold smile, he looked at the mystic the Arch and company and said, "Such a sect dares to call itself a top-notch sect? I think it's just a so-so." Ha ha ha, well said, old Bai. You've always been a nice guy, but now you've become a sharp-tongued one. Not bad. Dian Wei clapped his hands and cheered after hearing Baiqi's words. Listening to the Xuanzong sect's humiliating words, she suddenly blushed and her face turned red. As the saying goes, you can be angry but don't dare to say anything. Perhaps this was what it meant. Is your Xuanzong sect really going to fight to the death with my Jianghu sect? The mystic the Arch still wanted to fight for it. After all, the battle 100 years ago had already caused the sect to suffer great losses. Furthermore, the enemy this time was so unfathomable. Speechless, Baiqi and the others were speechless and did not reply to the mystic Thearch's question. How annoying. If you don't do it, I'll do it first. Suddenly, Dian Wei moved as if he was venting his anger. Boom! A terrifying and violent cultivation instantly rushed out and enveloped the mystic the Arch and the other 7 people. From the looks of it, it seemed like he was going to challenge all of them by himself. Whoosh, he moved. Dian Wei's body flashed, and he instantly disappeared from where he was. You're too impatient. But that's fine too. Let's finish this quickly. Baiqi was stunned to see Dian Wei's reaction. Then, he smiled and ignored him. Where did he go? At this moment, the mystic the Arch and the others panicked when they saw Dian Wei disappear. They immediately released their divine senses to search for the man who disappeared. Humph, a bunch of old bastards. Go to hell. When the mystic the Arch and the others were about to release their divine senses, a furious roar suddenly came from behind the old man who was slapped away. What? Hearing the voice coming from behind him, the old man was instantly shocked. At this moment, he felt that he was being targeted by a venomous snake that could kill him at any moment. When the old man heard the voice behind him, he subconsciously turned his head to check. However, when he turned his head to look, he was met with a fist the size of a sandbag, which came crashing down on his face with a destructive force. With a loud bang, the old man lost his sense of pain in the next moment. He didn't even feel the pain before he lost consciousness. The old man's head was blown up by Dian Wei's punch. Blood and brain matter instantly burst out and flowed down from Dian Wei's forehead. You. The mystic, the arch, and the others trembled when they saw the bloody scene. They couldn't help but take a step back. At this moment, they finally realized that they were not at the same level as the people of the Xuanzong sect. How powerful must one's cultivation be to blow up an early-stage ultimate god with one punch? Hee, you're too weak. Dian Wei muttered disdainfully while looking at the old man who was blown up by him behind the old man. Seeing Dian Wei's reaction, Bai Qi was stunned and felt very helpless. He couldn't accept Dian Wei's bloody way of solving the problem. Whoosh! Bai Qi disappeared from where he was and reappeared next to Dian Wei. He glanced at Dian Wei and then aimed at the corpse on the ground. He reached out his hand and an irresistible suction force appeared. Ah! You'll die a horrible death. You. At this moment, a little man who looked exactly like the dead old man appeared. How dare you hide, you little trickster? I've said that the Qingkuan sect must be wiped out cleanly. Bai Qi said coldly and then took the old man's divine soul into his palm. He exerted a little force and the old man's divine soul was crushed in his palm. The beginning completely destroyed the last glimmer of hope in the mystic Thearcha's heart. The old man's death made him realize that there was no way to reverse the situation. Kill them all. Leave no one alive. Looking at the mystic Tharch and the others who looked extremely upset, Bai Qi said to the other 4 people. Hee, I've been waiting for this. Hearing this, the other 4 people who didn't make a move clenched their fists and instantly released their powerful cultivation. Whoosh, 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 they disappeared instantly. The 6 of them were all great perfection ultimate gods. It was a piece of cake for them to deal with early or mid-ultimate gods. His figure disappeared from the spot. At this moment, everyone was completely panicking. They were afraid. Everyone had a frightened look on their faces as they released their divine senses to explore the surroundings. Their eyes were constantly scanning the surroundings. They were afraid that if they were careless, they would end up like the old man and die without even knowing how they died. The killing has begun. Enjoy the killing atmosphere as much as you can. Bai Qi sneered when he saw the mystic Thearcha's terrified expression. There was no chance. The mystic Tharch and the others ignored Bai Qi's words. It wasn't that they didn't want to, but they were afraid. They were afraid that someone would suddenly appear behind them and blow their brains out. Are you looking for me again? At this moment, Ming appeared behind a middle-aged man from the Qingkuan sect and looked at him with a smile. You. The middle-aged man quickly turned his head. When he saw Ming smiling at him, he felt as though the Grim Reaper was waiting for him. You, don't do this. I surrender. I surrender to the Xuanzong sect. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. I beg you. The mystic Tharch, who was in danger, heard his own sect's elder begging for mercy. At this moment, the mystic Thearcha's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He couldn't wait to kill the middle-aged man. Bastard. She cursed and ignored him. At this moment, she was like a clay Buddha crossing a river. She couldn't even protect herself, how could she care about others? Running away at the last minute. I can tell that you're not a good person. Now that you're willing to betray your own sect, when the Xuanzong sect is in trouble, I'm sure you'll choose to betray them too. What's the point of keeping such a disloyal and heartless person? After saying a bunch of high-sounding words, there was only one word left. Death. Ming had already decided on the outcome of the Qingkuan sect. Death. This was an order given by Lin Rei. No one could change it. No one could. No. Hearing Ming's words, the middle-aged man's body trembled. His face was filled with fear. Die. Ming ignored the middle-aged man's pleas. He circulated his cultivation and punched the middle-aged man's head. Kneeling on the ground, the middle-aged man saw that the outcome didn't change. Instantly, his face turned gloomy. Since you're not giving me any leeway, don't blame me. After saying that, the middle-aged man retreated. His Dan palace circulated in reverse. Waves of destructive energy rushed out of the middle-aged man's body. At this moment, the middle-aged man's body started to change. The middle-aged man was like a balloon. He started to inflate bit by bit. The speed wasn't fast. His eyes were bloodshot and looked terrifying. Ming was stunned when he saw this. He sneered, You want to self-destruct? You'll have to see if I agree to it first. Ming could only say that the middle-aged man was too stupid. It wasn't like he hadn't seen such a situation before. Swoosh, with a flash, he disappeared from where he was. The middle-aged man was stunned when he saw this, and his face was filled with shock. Did he escape? Seeing that there was no one around, the first thought that came to the middle-aged man's mind was that Ming had escaped. Escape? If I don't kill you, how can I leave? At this moment, while the middle-aged man was puzzled, a voice filled with killing intent came from behind. The middle-aged man was stunned. He turned around and wanted to attack. Die. However, at this moment, Ming appeared behind the middle-aged man. A long sword appeared in his hand. He raised his hand and stabbed the sword towards the Dan palace behind the middle-aged man. Pooh! The sound of flesh being cut was heard. Ming's long sword pierced through the middle-aged man's Dan palace from behind. Huff, 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 the Dan palace was destroyed. The remaining spiritual energy in the Dan palace lost its shackles and started to run wild in the middle-aged man's body. Ah, a blood-curdling scream was heard. His voice was hoarse and filled with pain. Although the spiritual energy belonged to him, he had lost his Dan palace. It was like water without a drain. It couldn't be stopped. Looking at the middle-aged man who was rolling on the ground in pain, Ming sneered and ignored him. He knew that the middle-aged man's fate was to explode from his own spiritual energy. At the same time, of the 8 people from the Jianghu sect, other than the mystic the Arch who was perfectly fine, the rest were all lying on the ground. They had either turned into cold corpses or had gone through inhumane torture. They were in so much pain that they could neither live nor die. How is this possible? The mystic the Arch, who had not moved from his original spot, looked at the scene around him. His face was filled with disbelief and shock. Less than a minute had passed, and all the elders of his sect had been defeated. This was something that he, the sect master, could not accept. From afar, Bai Qi looked at the ugly expression on the mystic Thearcha's face and laughed coldly. He slowly walked towards the mystic the Arch and said, Come, it's your turn. I will give you a chance to challenge me. Come. As he spoke, he stopped and released his cultivation base. The aura of a peak hierarch was released and pressed towards the mystic emperor. Boom, see. Feeling the majestic aura, the mystic emperor's body sank. His face was filled with shock. This aura made it hard for him to breathe. One had to know that his cultivation base was at the middle hierarch realm. Now that he was suppressed so easily, he couldn't take it. Impossible. I can't lose. I'm the sect leader of the Jianghu sect. I won't lose. Ignorant. Bai Qi sneered. In the next moment, he made his move. His figure flashed past the mystic emperor. With a thought, a 3-foot-long sword appeared in his hand. A shocking sword qi shot towards the mystic emperor. The sword qi was so huge that it seemed to be able to cut through space. With a sonic boom, it appeared in front of the mystic emperor. Not good. Feeling the strength of the sword qi, the mystic emperor's face changed. He didn't dare to be careless. He placed his spear in front of his chest and circulated all his cultivation base to block the sword qi. Because the sword qi was too fast, the mystic emperor didn't even have time to use any battle techniques to block it. Don't rest. Form groups of 2 and end the battle quickly. Young master doesn't like to drag things out. Do you understand? At this moment, Bai Qi spoke to the rest of the group. Yes. Hearing this, the group of people rushed in all directions towards the depths of the Qinkuan sect. They were so fast that they disappeared into the horizon. At this moment, there was no one else in the area. Bai Qi was serious. Although the other party's cultivation base was lower than his, underestimating the enemy was a big mistake. As Lin Rei's subordinate, how could he not know? Bam! At this moment, the sword Qi collided with the spear in front of the Mystic Emperor's chest. A huge force was felt. At this moment, the Mystic Emperor's body flew backwards uncontrollably. At the same time, because of the strength of the sword Qi, the Mystic Emperor's hands and arms were numb. He couldn't feel anything. Chapter 826. It's not over yet. Looking at the mystic Thearch's shocked face, Bai Qi did not let his guard down. He did not give the mystic Thearch any time to react and immediately chased after him. He raised his sword and slashed at the mystic Thearch again. What? At this moment, Bai Qi suddenly appeared in front of him and his sword was about to land. The mystic Thearch was shocked. He ignored the pain in his arms and raised his spear, wanting to block Bai Qi. Humph, do you think I will give you a chance? Seeing the mystic Thearch trying to use the same tactic to block his attack, Bai Qi sneered. The sword Qi from before was just a test. Now, he was using his full strength. Die! With a low roar, the long sword, which was as fast as lightning, came crashing down towards the mystic Thearch with a tremendous force. Bang! A loud sound rang out, blocking Bai Qi's 3-foot-long cold light. Suddenly, the mystic Thearch's expression changed drastically. His face turned pale, and fresh blood spurted out of his mouth. Even the long spear in his hand was knocked out of his hand by the force of the sword. What? Whoosh! The mystic Thearch cried out in surprise. His figure was like a startled swan as he flew backward at an extremely fast speed. Plop, plop, 1,000 feet away, the mystic Thearch landed on the ground. He rolled for a long time before he managed to stop himself. Pfff. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was extremely pale. His body was covered with wounds. Long and thin wounds appeared all over his body. At this moment, his life force began to flow away rapidly. Due to Bai Qi's earlier attack, more than half of the bones in his body had been broken. His internal organs were also badly damaged. The blood he spat out was mixed with pieces of his internal organs. Blood flowed out of his wounds. In an instant, the place where the mystic Thearch was lying was dyed red with blood. It was a bloody scene. Cough cough, lying on the ground, the mystic Thearch looked at the sky weakly. A complicated expression flashed across his eyes. There was regret, fear, confusion, and even more confusion. From the start till now, he did not know why the Xuanzong sect was fighting to the death with the Qinkuan sect. He coughed twice as blood flowed out of his mouth. Sigh. Seems like Qinkuan sect is finished today. If the Saints' world learns about this, what will they do? Attack? Or? While thinking, the mystic emperor turned his head with difficulty and his gaze fell on Bai Qi. Looking at him, the mystic emperor asked Bai Qi with a pleading look. May I, 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 may I offend your sect? Is that a problem? Hearing this question, Bai Qi slowly walked towards the mystic Arch, his face full of interest. As for the mystic Thearch's question, Bai Qi did not want to hide it. After all, this was not a big deal. Looking at the mystic Arch, Bai Qi opened his mouth and said, "This matter has nothing to do with the heaven and earth sect of the divine world. Of course, it is indirectly related." What? Bai Qi's words confused the mystic Arch. He did not understand what he was talking about. "Heh. Immortal world, the heaven and earth sect of the immortal world should be a branch of yours, right?" As he said that, Bai Qi laughed coldly. "Back then, when the heaven and earth sect of the immortal world attacked the Xuanzong sect, my young master was not around. During that battle, a young lady and young master were killed by your branch of the heaven and earth sect in the immortal world. At that time, my young master swore that the heaven and earth sect would be destroyed. Back then, when my young master rushed back, he was enraged. He killed his way to the heaven and earth sect and many other top sects and empires. At that time, my young master annihilated the entire sect." After saying that, Bai Qi looked at the mystic Arch again, his eyes filled with killing intent. After entering the divine world, who knew that there would be a heaven and earth sect here? Furthermore, it was of the same origin as the heaven and earth sect of the immortal world. "So, do you understand now?" After hearing Bai Qi's words, the mystic Arch finally understood why the Xuanzong sect hated the heaven and earth sect so much. It was because the Xuanzong sect killed the wife and child of the young master that Bai Qi spoke of. At this moment, the mystic Arch couldn't help but curse those bastards from the immortal world in his heart. He cursed them for creating such a huge trouble for the sects in the divine world. However, it was a pity that cursing was of no use. The heaven and earth sect of the immortal world was annihilated without a single survivor. Now, the heaven and earth sect of the immortal world met the same fate as the heaven and earth sect of the divine world. Now you know. Then, go to hell. After saying that, killing intent surged in his eyes. He raised his hand and a 3 long blade of light was raised, chopping towards the mystic Thearch's head. Heis! Seeing the death god's scythe coming towards him, the mystic Arch laughed bitterly. His heart was filled with helplessness. He sighed, my life is over." After saying that, he gave up on struggling. He knew that even if he struggled, there wouldn't be any results. The other party was too strong. He had no way of fighting back. Closing his eyes, he waited for the arrival of death. At this moment, many thoughts appeared in the mystic Thearch's mind. Many things he had done in the past, some good, some bad, some inhumane, some, however, at this moment, following the arrival of the death aura, everything faded away. All that was left was a blank space. "Ah, soon you won't feel any pain." Seeing the mystic Arch close his eyes, Bai Qi laughed coldly. Instead of slowing down, he sped up. Just as he was about to chop off the mystic Thearch's head, a voice rang out. "How dare you? In my heaven and earth sect, you dare to kill my sect leader? Do you think this old man is dead?" This voice rang out. Following that, a terrifying aura pressed down on Bai Qi's body. Feeling this terrifying aura, Bai Qi frowned and stopped what he was doing. His sword stopped 3 centimeters away from the mystic Thearch's head. It looked like it was about to explode. Stopping, he turned his head to look at the source of the voice. Frowning, he was shocked. TSK, to think that the heaven and earth sect still has a great circle supreme god. Seems like the heaven and earth sect didn't use all their resources. However, thinking about it, it makes sense. After all, the heaven and earth sect has been around for a long time. If they only had a few people, it would be disappointing. At this moment, not only did Bai Qi look over, even the mystic Arch, who was waiting for death, opened his eyes the moment he heard those words. His eyes, which were filled with despair, regained a glimmer of hope the moment he heard those words. Old ancestor, you, looking at the old man in the sky, the mystic Arch was stunned. Staring at the figure in the sky, his face was filled with shock. You're out of seclusion. Old ancestor. Hearing the mystic Thearcha's words, Bai Qi was stunned. Following which, he locked his gaze on the old man in the sky. Bai Qi's first impression of the old man was only one word. Strong. Of course, being strong didn't mean that he was invincible. As for the old man, Bai Qi didn't think much of him. It's you're the one who said that you're going to destroy the heaven and earth sect? At this moment, the old man whom the mystic Thearcha addressed as old ancestor came to a stop in the sky above Bai Qi. Looking down at Bai Qi, his eyes were filled with contempt and disdain. Humph. Bai Qi was extremely unhappy with the sudden appearance of the old man who was addressed as old ancestor. He hadn't even said anything yet and this old man had already taken the initiative to put on airs. Old man, don't be disrespectful in front of me. The strong are respected. In this world, the strong are respected. You're also a great circle supreme god like me. What rights do you have to look down on me? As he spoke, he raised his hand and instantly released his cultivation. A huge amount of spiritual energy gathered in his palm. Following which, a terrifying suction force appeared. Divine punishment, descend, Kacha. Suddenly, the originally clear and boundless sky was filled with dark clouds. The dark clouds instantly filled the sky above Bai Qi and the others. Following that were streaks of purple-colored tears. They were like lightning dragons rolling about within the dark clouds. Kacha. Boom, suddenly, a purple lightning bolt turned into a purple dragon. It aimed at the old man in the sky and shot toward him. Purple heavenly lightning? This magic. Looking at the purple lightning above his head, the old man's eyes widened. At the same time, he was filled with disbelief and caution. Facing the purple heavenly lightning, he didn't dare to be careless. The purple heavenly lightning was an extremely terrifying lightning tribulation. It was known as the King of Lightning. Although it wasn't the strongest, it was definitely not something that he could underestimate. Although he was puzzled, the old man still chose to deal with the lightning tribulation above his head in the end. Come on, let me see how strong the purple heavenly lightning is. As he spoke, the old man couldn't be careless. A long sword appeared in his hand. He mobilized all his cultivation and attacked the purple dragon. Old fart. Looking at the old man, Bai Qi's eyes were filled with disdain. You've underestimated my purple heavenly lightning. Although it's only summoned by magic, it's not inferior to the real purple heavenly lightning. Since you're asking for trouble, don't blame me for not giving you face. After speaking, he waved his hand. As if his arm was a purple dragon, it attacked the old man. A dragon-like roar instantly spread out in all directions with Bai Qi and the others as the center. The roar was so loud that if cultivators below the Emperor God realm heard it, they would lose their 5 senses. If it was serious, their cultivation would be destroyed and they would explode and die. What? It has spiritual awareness? Noticing the change in the purple dragon, the old man was shocked and quickly dodged to the side. The moment the purple dragon roared, he clearly felt that the dragon's strength had increased by 2 or 3 levels. At this moment, the aura that the dragon emitted made his divine soul tremble. A sense of oppression that he had never experienced before emerged in his heart. You're quite fast to dodge. Seeing that his first round of attacks had been dodged, Bai Qi had to take it seriously. This was the first time he had fought against someone of the same level as him since his breakthrough. Since that's the case, I have no choice but to get serious. As he spoke, he waved his arm again. Suddenly, the dragon that had stopped in the air moved again. This time, its speed was even faster. It appeared in front of the old man almost instantly. The dragon opened its mouth and bit at the old man's head. Its speed was extremely fast, and it was extremely powerful. Oh no! The speed of the dragon was obviously not within the old man's expectations. When the dragon's mouth was just inches away from his head, the old man did not say anything. He raised his hand, circulated his cultivation, and punched at the dragon's head with all his strength. This time, the old man went all out. He knew that the cultivation of the purple dragon in front of him was oppressing him. However, in the face of death, he had no other choice. Pooh! The sound of flesh being torn apart could be heard. A smear of blood could be seen on the old man's left arm. Immediately, the old man's left arm disappeared. The only thing that could be seen was the badly mutilated part of his arm. Blood could not be stopped from flowing out. Ah! A cry of pain came from the old man's mouth. His eyes were filled with ruthlessness. He lowered his head and looked at Bai Qi, who was commanding the dragon. Hatred surged in his heart. Bastard, bastard. I have been in the divine realm for many years, but I have never suffered such a great loss. You have thoroughly angered me. Oh. Then I would like to see what will happen after I have angered you. Bai Qi was shocked by the old man's words. Of course, this was exactly what Bai Qi wanted. At this moment, the mystic the Arch, who was lying behind Bai Qi, saw everything with his own eyes. Looking at the old man who had lost an arm, he felt that the scene before him was so real. That was because, in his impression, the old man of the heaven and earth sect was a high and mighty existence. He was invincible. Furthermore, when the old man appeared, he thought that he had a chance of survival. But now, with this scene before him, the last bit of hope in his eyes was completely extinguished. It was completely extinguished. Even the hope he had was gone. He knew that today's ending was already decided. Turning his head, Bai Qi looked at the mystic the Arch, who looked like he was dead. Bai Qi laughed coldly. Holding the 3 Qi long blade in his hand, he slashed at the mystic the Arch. You dare! This scene enraged the old man who had lost an arm. He did not expect that at this moment, he would turn around and kill the mystic the Arch. Humph, see if I dare or not. Facing the old man, Bai Qi snorted coldly. Following which, the blade in his hand fell cleanly. Without any hesitation, he swung the sword in his hand. Pfff. Gurgle, gurgle, a sound of something falling rang out. The mystic Thearka's head had already been separated from his body. It fell to the ground and rolled. Ah, lad, you are courting death, you are courting death. The old man saw the mystic Thearka's death clearly. All of this had made him crazy. He had always thought highly of the mystic the Arch. He had always thought that the mystic the Arch would bring the heaven and earth sect to greater heights and become the #1 sect in the divine realm. But now... Chapter 827. Humph, I'll send you on your way. Bai Qi frowned in annoyance at the old man's attitude. Then, he disappeared from where he was. Humph, come on. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. The old man was alerted by Bai Qi's disappearance. After the battle just now, he knew that he was no match for the old man in front of him. Of course, as someone of the same level, he wouldn't be killed so easily. Even if they had to fight to the death, he could still drag the old man down with him. That was Ancestor Heaven and Earth's plan. Of course, Bai Qi didn't think so. He didn't want to die here because he still had many things to do. He couldn't die here. Whoosh, when Bai Qi disappeared, Ancestor Heaven and Earth moved as well. He released his divine sense and disappeared. Although there was a sharp pain in his shoulder, he didn't have the mood to care about it. Because he knew that as long as he was even a little bit distracted, he would only be left with the fate of death in the end. Holding the long sword in his hand, Ancestor Heaven and Earth moved quickly. According to Bai Qi's location, Ancestor Heaven and Earth kept attacking. Heaven and Earth battle technique, Heaven and Earth lock. Suddenly, a golden light appeared from the long sword and rushed towards Bai Qi. It was so fast that it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Humph. And, looking at the golden light rushing towards him, Bai Qi was stunned. His face was solemn, but he didn't want to admit defeat. Looking at the golden light, Bai Qi could not help but feel a faint tremble in his heart. That was because he could faintly sense a trace of sealing power within the incoming golden light. Bai Qi knew that if he was hit by the golden light, the consequences would be unimaginable. Nirvana sword technique, first style, extermination. Bai Qi didn't dare to be careless. He waved his long sword and used his divine sense. Suddenly, a strong and powerful killing intent burst out from his body. At this moment, a strange scene happened. The killing intent that burst out of his body seemed to come alive and started to gather towards the long sword in Bai Qi's hand. Huff! Huff! There was no wind. At this moment, Bai Qi's white robes fluttered in the wind as if they were about to be torn apart at any moment. At the same time, waves of sword chi suddenly appeared as the killing intent condensed on the long sword. It was like a startling swan, causing people to tremble. What? How is this possible? At this moment, Old Master Heaven and Earth, who was standing in the air, looked at Bai Qi's battle tactics. Suddenly, he froze on the spot. His face was filled with disbelief and disbelief. Murderous chi, he also had it, but he had never heard of a battle technique that could be launched using murderous chi as the foundation. Furthermore, judging by Bai Qi's appearance, the offensive power of this combat technique was extremely strong enough to refine and destroy anything. Looking at Bai Qi's sword, he had originally thought that using the heaven and earth lock would increase his chances of victory. But now, his heart, which had calmed down considerably, was now in complete panic. He was afraid, die. Looking at the stunned ancestor Qinkuan in the air, Bai Qi's eyes flashed with killing intent. As the saying goes, take your life when you are sick. Now that ancestor Qinkuan was not only injured but also stunned at such a dangerous moment, it was clear that he was doomed. Whoosh! A wave of sword chi shot out from Bai Qi's long sword. Its speed was shocking, its power was shocking, and the killing intent was so strong that it made people tremble. Facing the stunned ancestor Qinkuan in the air, Bai Qi rushed towards him without hesitation. Bang! A loud sound rang out. Following the loud sound, a powerful shockwave spread out in all directions with the two battle techniques as the epicenter. Golden light and black light, the heaven and earth lock and nirvana sword art collided with each other. Instantly, the surrounding array was completely destroyed. The Qinkuan sect was crushed into dust by the shockwave. Even the mountains within 100 feet radius were sacrificed in the battle between ancestor Qinkuan and Bai Qi. The Qinkuan sect, which was known as the Holy Land, was supposed to be a picturesque place with beautiful mountains and clear waters. However, after this battle, it was completely destroyed. What picturesque scenery! What flocks of birds and beasts! What pleasant scenery! At this moment, all that was left was smoke, piles of rubble, and countless craters. Everything from before had disappeared. At this moment, in front of the Qinkuan sect, there was only one word to describe it: Azura battlefield. Although there were mountains of corpses and bones, the scene was unbearable to look at. No. Impossible. The heaven and earth lock. The heaven and earth lock can seal all kinds of energy. No, all of a sudden, in the originally silent space, ancestor heaven and earth let out a horrified roar. A loud noise rang out. At this moment, ancestor Qinkuan's face was pale and blood was flowing out of his mouth. His face was filled with shock and disbelief. Nothing is impossible. Bai Qi was taken aback when he saw Patriarch Heaven and Earth shouting himself hoarse and filled with unwillingness. Then, a cold war broke out. Murderous aura belongs to spiritual energy. So what if your combat technique has the power of sealing? So what if it can seal all kinds of energy? In the face of murderous aura, it is useless. After saying that, Bai Qi looked at the extermination sword that was fighting against the heaven and earth lock. At this moment, the heaven and earth lock had started to crack under the extermination sword's resistance. Moreover, the rate of cracking was getting faster and faster. On the other hand, the extermination sword still had the hope that it had just released. Its power did not decrease and it continued to press forward as if it did not consume any energy. No. No, even without Bai Qi's reminder, Bai Qi could feel that his heaven and earth lock did not have the ability to seal the murderous aura. His original plan was ruined by the sudden appearance of this strange sword technique. The heaven and earth lock could only be used as a means of bombardment. Nirvana sword technique was something that Lin Rei had spent a lot of money to exchange for from the system. It was a top honorable realm combat technique. Moreover, this Nirvana sword technique was chosen by Lin Rei based on Bai Qi's experience. When Bai Qi was on planet Aqua Blue, he was known as the god of slaughter. He already had a terrifying murderous aura. In addition, after thousands of years of accumulation and growth, his murderous aura had soared to a certain extent. Therefore, Lin Rei had chosen this combat technique for him. However, Lin Rei did not expect that his whim would bring such benefits to Bai Qi. Kacha. Kacha, bam, along with the sound of cracking, it did not take long for the golden light to completely shatter. The extermination sword did not slow down and continued to rush towards Ancestor Qinkuan, who was in a daze. This time, Bai Qi was determined to kill Ancestor Heaven and Earth with this strike. Because he had already used all of his strength, his killing intent was gone at this moment. If he wanted to use such a powerful combat skill again, he would need to recover his killing intent to do so. Of course, this was one of the drawbacks of the Nirvana sword technique. Only when one's murderous aura was abundant could he use the next few moves. Otherwise, after one move, his murderous aura would be exhausted and the other moves would be useless. However, the murderous aura consumed could be recovered slowly. Therefore, Bai Qi was not worried. No. No, 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 I am Ancestor Qinkuan. I can't, Puqi. Ancestor Qian Kuan screamed in despair. Suddenly, the exterminating sword rushed over and split Ancestor Qian Kuan into two halves from the top of his head. Blood gushed out and scattered. The blood of a supreme god was filled with a certain amount of dharma. Moreover, the blood of a supreme god contained a huge amount of energy. Bai Qi believed that after being cleansed by Ancestor Qinkuan's blood, something incredible would soon appear. Plop. Ancestor Qinkuan lost control of his body and fell to the ground. Huff, looking at his enemy being killed, Bai Qi let out a long sigh and smiled. Finally, it's over. To think that Qinkuan's sect would have such a combat technique. Qinkuan lock. It seems very interesting. If I give it to young master, perhaps young master will be a little interested. As he spoke, he extended his divine sense and scanned the 9 old fellows of the Qinkuan sect. He could sense that they were still alive, and even their souls had been completely wiped out. At this moment, the shiny interspatial rings on their corpses were exposed to the sunlight. Hee, if that's the case, then I shall accept it. After saying that, Bai Qi raised his arm and a suction force came from his hand, aiming at the 9 people's universe rings. Instantly, the 9 universe rings were sucked into Bai Qi's hand. After he was done, Bai Qi chuckled and leaped into the air, dashing into the depths of Qinkuan's sect. He had wasted too much time and did not want to waste any more time. Besides, he knew that Lin Rei did not want to wait. Whoosh, Bai Qi disappeared from the entrance of Qinkuan's sect. Within Qinkuan's sect, the battle was even more intense than before. Broken limbs and corpses were strewn all over the ground. Blood had already formed a thin stream. The surrounding palaces and houses were all in ruins. Cries of agony filled the sky. If the people of the upper god world were to see this, they would probably not dare to leave their houses. At the same time, the Xuanzong sect would be labeled as a demonic sect. Sky Dragon Mountain, Xuanzong sect. Within the secret grounds, a young man sat cross-legged on the grass. He had a kind expression on his face. This was none other than Lin Rei, who had returned to Qinkuan sect. During this period of time, Lin Rei's daily mission was to raise the fighting strength of his disciples and impart knowledge to them. For example, formations, alchemy, talismans, refining weapons, combat techniques, spells, cultivation methods, and some areas that he didn't understand, such as combat experience. As long as it could help them grow, Lin Rei was not stingy at all. He taught them everything without holding back. In Lin Rei's opinion, it would be great if they could surpass you. Of course, this was just Lin Rei's own thought. The news of Lin Li's return was like a spring breeze. Instantly, everyone in the Xuanzong sect found out about it. Because of this, the morale of everyone in the sect was raised to an extreme. Lin Linger, who was imprisoned in the cemetery, was brought out by Xie Feng. However, she did not appear. Instead, she was brought out of the sect by Xie Feng. From the sound of it, Lin Linger seemed to be brought to a good place that could help her break through her cultivation faster. Lin Yun, who originally wanted to stop them, gave up after hearing this. After all, in this world, strength was king. Only when one was strong enough would they not be bullied. Ding. Killed a peak ultimate god cultivator. Obtained 300,000 exchange points and a Qingkuan pill, quasi-sage level. Ding. Killed a peak ultimate god cultivator. Obtained 150,000 exchange points, ding. Killed a peak ultimate god cultivator. Obtained 150,000 exchange points, ding. Killed a peak ultimate god cultivator. Obtained 230,000 exchange points and a spine pill, peak ultimate god level. What's going on? Lin Rei was stunned by the sudden reward. His face was filled with confusion. He did not understand what was going on. However, right after the first batch of announcements, the second batch of rewards arrived. Ding. Killed a peak ultimate god cultivator. Obtained 150,000 exchange points, ding. Killed a peak ultimate god cultivator. Obtained 100,000 exchange points and 3 million experience, ding, ding, ding. Following the system notifications, Lin Rei's face was filled with uncontrollable joy and excitement. F*CK, if this goes on, then the exchange points that I owe the system will I be able to repay it completely after this? Lin Rei was filled with excitement as he thought about it. You're right. Right now, your debt has exploded to over 7 million. I believe it won't be long before you'll be able to pay it all off. Just as Lin Li was feeling extremely excited, the system suddenly spoke up. Ha ha ha, hearing the system's confirmation, Lin Rei could not help but laugh out loud. His face was filled with joy. However, the look on Lin Li's face caused the nearby disciples, who were training hard, to feel their hearts tremble. Lin Rei's reaction was too sudden. They were not prepared for it at all. Moreover, Lin Rei rarely laughed like this. Hence, they were very curious as to why he did it. At the same time, the question of Lin Wanyu and the others also appeared in Lin Li's mind. Regarding this reason, he was also confused. System, what is going on? I am here. How could I have killed so many peak ultimate gods? Moreover, god emperors. God monarchs. I don't remember any of these. Hearing those words, the system rolled its eyes and said in a displeased tone, did you forget what you sent Bai Qi and the others to do? Hearing these words, Lin Li was startled. He was thinking of Bai Qi and the others. In that moment, Lin Li understood why he had suddenly gained so many points. Now that he thought about it, those people from the Qingkuan sect must have been killed by the people he sent. Suddenly, thinking about the Qingkuan sect in this world being destroyed, Lin Rei felt a sense of relief. Linger, don't worry. This is just the beginning. This is the cycle of karma. I will not let the founder of the Qingkuan sect go. Chapter 828. Drip, the translucent tear flowed out from the corner of Lin Li's eye and slid down his face, which was filled with nostalgia. Finally, it fell to the ground with a clear sound. Lin Rei was crying. A peak mid-ultimate god cultivator was crying. An expert with an invincible army was crying. A legendary existence was crying. When Lin Wanyu and the others saw this, they gaped in shock. Their faces were filled with astonishment. They had only seen their master cry when their master's wife and junior brother had died. After that, they had never seen him cry. But now, a godlike existence was crying. Even so, they did not step forward. They had all kinds of questions but they did not ask. Just like that, they just looked at Lin Ray. They did not step forward nor did they disturb him. They just went about their own business, but they would turn their heads to look at him from time to time. Inside the Jianghu sect, there were mountains of corpses and seas of blood. White bones could be seen everywhere. It was like hell. It made people shiver and their hair stand on end. There were no more howls, no more gasps, no more sounds of battle. Apart from the raging flames, there was nothing else. Young master's task is done. At this moment, Bai Qi and the others stood in the sky above the Jianghu sect. Their faces were cold and the murderous intent in their eyes had lessened. Yes. However, Dian Wei said slowly, what about the holy world? There's still one more in the holy world. The only way to completely eradicate the Jianghu sect is to kill them all. This is the only way for young master to escape from his wife's death. Sigh. Hearing Dian Wei's words, the others looked at each other in agreement and sighed. All right, that's enough. Looking at them, Bai Qi interrupted, now that the Jianghu sect is gone, it's still a sect with a long history. Its foundation is extraordinary. What we need to do now is to find out the foundation of the Jianghu sect. Besides. Saying that, Bai Qi looked at the tallest mountain in the distance. He felt an inexplicable pressure in his heart. He did not like this feeling. It was like a fish stem in his throat. It made it difficult for him to breathe. And what? Dian Wei looked at Bai Qi curiously and lowered his head to ask, what are you doing? Furthermore, I can feel an oppressive aura from there. This feeling makes me tremble, makes me panic. I'm afraid. Hearing that, Dian Wei was stunned for a moment and put on wariness. He agreed with Bai Qi's intuition. Since Bai Qi said that there was an oppressive aura there, then perhaps there really was something there. What should we do? Hearing this, Bai Qi stared for a moment before smiling and saying, just the two of us. Let's see what it is first. If there really is a powerful existence, with just the two of us, we won't be completely wiped out, right? How can that be? At this moment, when the others beside him heard this, they were all stunned. Their faces were filled with affection. Because they were summoned war generals, their hearts were vaguely united. That's right. At this moment, Red Lotus, the only female among them, was shocked when she heard what they said. Can the two of you do it? We're a team. 6 of us came here. Do you want us to go back as 4? Even if young master hears about this, he'll probably scold you. So, I don't agree with this. As she spoke, Red Lotus asked the others, what about you? Well, looking at the hostile Red Lotus, everybody was stunned for a moment. Then, they all had the same thought, which was that they couldn't afford to offend this woman. Also, they agreed with Red Lotus and nodded in agreement. Of course, we agree with you very much, Red Lotus. Everybody focused their eyes on the mountain that Bai Qi pointed at, their eyes full of fighting will. That's a good thing. How can you leave us out of it? You. Seeing how stubborn they were, Bai Qi shook his head with a bitter smile. I really don't know what to do with you. However, if that's the case, let's go together and see what that thing is. Yes, I agree. Hearing this, everyone nodded. Everyone was eager to give it a try, as if they wanted to rush to the top of the mountain to investigate. Bai Qi looked at them and nodded. Well, if that's the case, I'll send a message to young master first. Then, without waiting for their response, he turned his head and took out the voice transmission jade slip that Lin Ray gave him before he left. He pressed it against his forehead and began to send a voice transmission. Young master, the Jianghu sect has detected an unknown aura. It's very powerful. I'm afraid I don't have the ability to subdue it. After some consideration, we've decided to go and check it out. Then, a stream of spiritual energy rushed out of his body and entered the jade slip. Instantly, the jade slip was activated and turned into a beam of green light that shot into the sky and disappeared. It was so fast that even Bai Qi, a peak ultimate god, couldn't see how the jade slip disappeared. Of course, Bai Qi didn't dwell on this matter for too long. He suppressed his shock and went to Red Lotus and the others. At this moment, Dian Wei said, "Let's go. I feel that my blood is boiling." Everybody was already used to Dian Wei's behavior. Therefore, they all burst into laughter when they heard his words. Dian Wei was stunned for a moment and didn't say anything else. "Let's go. Don't keep Dian Wei waiting." At this moment, Kuei Gang suddenly teased. Amongst them, Kuei Gang was the most honest and straightforward, but now, after Kuei Gang's sudden words, everybody burst into laughter again and rushed in the direction that Bai Qi had pointed out. In the secret realm of the Xuanzong sect on Celestial Dragon Mountain, Lin Rei's mind finally calmed down after the bombardment of notifications. Damn it, it turns out that the system's notifications are also troublesome. It's so annoying. Humph, you're still pretending to be innocent. I really don't know why the system chose you in the first place. The system appeared and said. Lin Rei was embarrassed by the system's response. After all, he had mentioned the system when he spoke. Whoosh, suddenly, there was a sound of something breaking through the air. Just as he was about to respond to the system, he immediately released his divine sense after hearing the sound. Isn't this the voice transmission jade slip I gave to Bai Qi and the others? Lin Rei was puzzled when he saw the object breaking through the air. Logically speaking, after killing so many ultimate gods, there shouldn't be anything that could make Bai Qi and the others send a message. Since he couldn't figure it out, he stopped thinking about it. At this moment, the voice transmission jade slip arrived in front of Lin Rei and fell into Lin Rei's hand accurately. Looking at the jade slip, Lin Rei smiled. He thought that giving the jade slip to Bai Qi was superfluous. After all, there weren't many people in the divine realm who could fight against him. But now, Lin Rei didn't think so when he saw the jade slip. Without thinking too much, he reached out and placed the jade slip on his forehead. Using his cultivation, he activated the jade slip. Suddenly, Bai Qi's voice sounded in Lin Rei's mind. "Young master, the Jianghu sect has discovered an unknown aura. It's extremely strong. I'm afraid I don't have the ability to subdue it. So, after thinking about it, we have decided to go and check it out. If there's any danger, at this point, Bai Qi's voice could no longer be heard. Hearing Bai Qi's voice transmission, Lin Li's face grew darker and darker. An aura that could threaten Bai Qi and the others, unless it was from a sage, even a quasi-sage wouldn't be a match for them. Thinking of this, Lin Rei's eyes widened. Killing intent surged in his heart. If that was really the case, then Bai Qi and the others, this matter needs to be taken seriously. Although Bai Qi and the others will not truly die after being killed, if you want to restore their physical bodies, the amount of exchange points and reputation points required will not be just a few million. Oh. How much do I need? Hearing the system's words, Lin Rei was taken aback. This was the first time he heard the system mention this, so, he didn't know everything. Each of them will need 30 million points or points. 6 of them will cost 180 million. With such a huge expenditure, The system didn't continue because it knew that Lin Rei couldn't possibly give it that much money. Hiss. As expected, the moment he heard the system's price, Lin Rei's eyes widened. Anyway, Liangpi's face was filled with shock. 180 million points or points. That was more than he had ever spent in his entire life. Furthermore, even if he borrowed it, the system wouldn't lend it to him. Thinking about this, Lin Rei felt a headache. He thought that he could relax for a while, but he didn't expect to encounter such a situation. As for Bai Qi and the others, although they were all summoned warlords, Lin Li had long since come to view them as his own brothers. One must know that they had grown up with him. They had been through trials and tribulations along the way. They had memories of all the hardships and heartache along the way. Furthermore, most importantly, even though Lin Rei had cut off the connection between their lives, they were still somewhat connected. So, what are your plans? At this moment, the system that had been spying on Lin Rei suddenly asked Lin Rei. Plans. TSK. Hearing the system's question, Lin Rei fell into deep thought. He hadn't thought about his plans yet. Moreover, this place was too far away from the Qingkuan sect. If he rushed over now, it would be too late. Thinking of this, Lin Li couldn't help but rub his throbbing temples. His heart trembled. Heh, how about? I give you a teleportation portal. This teleportation portal can send you to the Qingkuan sect immediately. Teleportation portal. Hearing the system's words, Lin Rei's eyes lit up. He had seen the system's teleportation portal before. However, one who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. Unless, yes, teleportation portal. 3 million exchange points. I'll give you a discount this time. As expected, he knew it. Of course, Lin Rei had no other choice. He swore to himself that he would upgrade the level of his teleportation portals and talismans as soon as possible so that he wouldn't be restricted by the system. So, do you want to exchange or, you, damn, it? Rolling his eyes at the system, he said helplessly, I want one, no, a set. You said 300 exchange points per set. You can't go back on your word, okay? One set. Hearing this, the system was stunned and went silent. Time passed silently. With every passing minute, Bai Qi and the others would be in more danger. Then, just as Lin Rei was feeling frustrated, the system spoke. All right, 3 million exchange points per set. I'll exchange. At this moment, Lin Rei was indescribably happy. To him, being able to scam the system was enough for him. As for the 3 million exchange points, it wasn't that important anymore. Ding, teleportation portal. Once inside the storage basket, please check carefully. Ding, purchase of teleportation portal. 3 million exchange points. Balance, 9 million exchange points. Hearing the system's notification, Lin Rei felt a twinge in his heart. It wasn't easy for him to break through the 10 million mark. Now, Lin Rei was exasperated at the thought of this. However, Bai Qi and the others who were in the Qingkuan sect didn't know that the teleportation portal could be sent to Lin Rei in an instant. The mountain wasn't far from Bai Qi and the others. Therefore, the 6 of them quickly arrived at the top of the mountain and landed on it. This place was filled with greenery that pierced through the clouds. It gave off a mysterious feeling. As this place was a little far from the sect, it wasn't affected by the battle between Bai Qi and ancestor Qingkuan. This place was still as good as new. However, there was a faint smell of blood in the air. This couldn't be separated from Bai Qi and the others. Although Qingkuan sect was severely damaged 100 years ago, it was still a sect with a long history and many disciples. Qingkuan sect had more than 100,000 disciples and all of them died in the hands of Bai Qi and the others. Of course, this didn't include those who had most likely left the sect. After landing on the mountain, Bai Qi's brows furrowed even tighter. It could even be said that his brows were twisted together. The slight seriousness in his eyes was now gone. He gripped the 3-feet-long cold light in his hand and looked like he was ready to fight at any moment. He was not the only one. Even Hong Lian and the others completely understood what Bai Qi had said. At that moment, everyone was shocked because the instant they landed on the mountain peak, their cultivations were faintly suppressed. Although the suppression was very slight, it was still noticed by everyone. Everyone was shocked. How strong must one's cultivation be to be able to suppress the cultivation of a peak hierarch? You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.